Welcome to another episode of On the Block with Jen. I'm YouTube's bad girl, Jen. Hi, new subbies. I got so many new subbies in the past couple hours. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You gonna like it here, even when you don't like it. You gonna like it here. So I'm happy to see y'all. What's up, chat? What's up, Don Levon? I'm gonna get on your nerves tonight, like I always do. What's up, brother Ish? Brother Ish, I hope you're coming up tonight because this subject, this topic is gonna be right up your alley. Okay, and I know we feel different about this. So what's up, mi gente? Hello to all my new subbies. Hello, my old subbies, all the people that hold me down in the chat. You know what it is. I am Jen from On the Block with Jen. You can catch me on Instagram, On the Block with Jen, on TikTok, On the Block with Jen. If you want to email me, send me a Gmail at ontheblock.with Jen@gmail. I'm cleaning out my closet for the winter, so I'm going to be selling a lot of my clothes. It's going to be secondhand, lightly used, barely used. Some stuff still has tags on it. I've worn stuff to gigs or for modeling stuff, so stuff that I didn't continue wearing. So I'm cleaning out my closet. So if you're interested in size 2 or 4, or size 7.5 shoe, or size 9 shoe, brand new out the box, follow me on the Block with Jen on Instagram. I took pictures of everything and I'm gonna throw them up really, really soon. So if you're not a size 2, 4, I'm sure your niece is, I'm sure your daughter is. So check out my stuff. Let me know what you think. You can ask me questions in the DMs about it, okay? It's gonna be butters. Let me show you. Let me show you. Should we separate to advance? Should we separate to advance? Who should separate, Jen? Who should separate? I'm talking about the regular folk from the degenerates. I always get tongue tied on that word, but I like saying it, degenerate, right? I'm talking about the regular folks from the degenerates. Let me give y'all an example because y'all gonna be like, what you mean? What you mean? I'm talking about attorney Kevin Kelly. I spoke about him before. Has a restaurant called Kitchen and Cocktails. Kitchen and Cocktails. He has 2 of them, I believe now. One in Chicago, and I think one in. Oh, I don't want to get this wrong. I think one in Texas. I believe I'm right. Kitchen and Cocktails. He also has some Latin nightclubs. Attorney Kevin Kelly has a restaurant, and I'm sure you guys saw the story that went viral because there was some women twerking in his restaurant on the tables and shit like that, and he threw them out. And then he went off in the restaurant. He's like, look, I'm trying to have a nice place for y'all to come visit so you could eat and feel good and dress up and blah, blah, blah. So what happened was the twerkers and the people that supported the twerkers called for his restaurant to be boycotted because they persisted and insisted that they should be able to fucking twerk if they spend money somewhere, right? But little did they know that Kevin Kelly had a huge supportive customer, demographic. And a lot of people came out swinging for him and said, no, we want this place to be this way. So right there, those are 2 different demographics, right? The people that applaud and celebrate and uphold the degenerates, like, what I would call like someone like that does kind of like Cardi B rap or Meg Thee Stallion rap, or a lot of those girls, or Tekashi 6ix9ine or Kodak Black. There is a demographic within our communities as just it would fall under degeneracy, right? And then there's like the normal regular people, like attorney Kevin Kelly, who owns restaurants and businesses and is very successful, and he's suited, and his customer base is mostly that. It's people that want to go have dinner and, not look across the room and see 3 bitches twerking on tables, right? So there's 2 different demographics. Now, within our communities, we prayed up as fuck. We are prayed up as fuck. Are we not? Right? Everybody gets forgiveness no matter what they do. Pedophiles, rapists, shooters, drug users, drug dealers. Everybody, no, Jesus done said, Muhammad done said. Everybody, no, we embrace everybody, right? But is that holding us back in our communities? Is that holding us back in our communities when we're constantly trying to save these people and bring them up, right? I think a lot of us are in denial, even with the Jesus, even riding the Jesus train, because I'm a firm believer in some people are comfortable where they are. But there seems to be this narrative that you have to save these people from themselves, right? You got to save, no, you got to say, no, that person doesn't want to be a stripper. They just need a good talking to. They need Jesus. No, that person doesn't want to be a shooter. They need a good talking to. They need Jesus, right? And I think we're in denial because some of these people, and it's generational, the degeneracy is generational, right? Your favorite girl, Candace, always talks about it a lot. It's generational, right? And some people are just comfortable being that way. That's why sometimes you see, certain neighborhoods. My dad bought 3 buildings in New York City, right? 10-unit buildings. And there were certain people he would not rent to. Now, my father wasn't a racist white man. He was just like, I can't have a certain element in these buildings because they're going to be tagging the hallways. They're going to fuck up the elevator. They're going to fuck up the stairs. They're going to, right? He couldn't do it. He could not do it even if he wanted to, right? Or the buildings would get fucked up. That is life. Attorney Kevin Kelly with the restaurant. He could not have these women in his restaurant because he wanted people that were going in there and spending good money to have a certain environment, right? A certain ambiance, a certain aura. He didn't want people spending money, cutting a filet mignon and across the table are 3 bitches, you know what I mean? Twerking and showing their asses literally. So there's certain people that you just cannot join hands with kumbaya. So it's separation key. Now, I was hoping Brother Ish came up because he talked, and he's a separatist. He talks a lot about it, but he usually talks about separating from white people, right? And lately, with all the stuff that's happened with Kanye and Kyrie, again, the spotlight is on white people. I know it's the Jewish, right? But they're opposite of us. They are white people, right? They're Jewish by religion, but they're white people. They're what I would consider Caucasian. You guys could correct me if I'm wrong, but they're white people, right? Aesthetically, they present as white. So there's been an emphasis on like, see, it's them against us, it's them against us. But what about when it's us against us? Huh? What about when it's us against us? What about when it's us getting robbed by us? What about when it's us getting molested by us? What about when it's us getting raped by us? What about when it's us getting killed by us? What about when it's us? What about when it's us? Because let's be clear, right? The Jewish people regarding Kanye West was contract shit. He wanted more money. He wanted things done his way, right? They didn't physically harm him. They didn't shoot at him, right? They didn't put him in a fucking chokehold and take his chain. They didn't molest his kid. The Jewish folks that Kanye claims run the world were basically like, yeah, motherfucker, we run the world and you're a subordinate. And this is how you're gonna maneuver. But we'll still break you off a couple billions. But you're no boss here. We're the boss. That's really what happened in a nutshell. If we just break it down to brass tacks. If we keep it simple, that is what happened. Right? Somebody got a little too big for their britches and wanted the same amount of money or the same amount of respect that the boss got. And that's an impossibility. We all know that. We've all worked somewhere or work somewhere currently where we couldn't just walk in and knock on the boss's door and say, hey, I want the car that you drive. I want the big corner office with the view. I want the coffee that you get. And I want an assistant. Your boss would call security or laugh because it's so far-fetched, right? So that's basically what happened with Kanye and the evil Jewish. But again, there was an emphasis put all over Twitter, all over Instagram, all over Facebook, like, see, the white man is after us. They don't want good for us. But what about the person that's your neighbor? What about the guy that lives across the street? What about the guy that's following you home from work to take your wallet, right? Now, we talk about proximity a lot. These people look like us because they live around us. We live amongst them. So is separation key to advance? Are we going to keep celebrating these people and championing them and laughing and rapping along to their shit because there's this huge FOMO amongst us? Remember, back in the day, there was an order, right? It was generations, right? It was your grandmother who gave you the eye, then your mother who was like, you know what I'm saying? Now it's like you, I'm talking about not you personally, but in general, what I see online. And I was like you, and now your mother wants to be down too, right? Because everybody got to be up to date on Facebook and everybody got to know the new songs. So everybody got to know what Cardi B and Meg Thee Stallion just dropped, right? And now you got regular, our generation, then their mothers and our grandmothers, and they're all involved now in this social media, the degeneracy. It's funny to everybody. Everybody wants in. So it's hard to have that, you know what I mean? That matriarch, that patriarch, where back in the day, it's like our parents would tell us there was someone older, even if we didn't listen, because we didn't listen. But we always had that little chip in the back of our minds of our mothers or fathers or grandmothers or grandfathers telling us, mira, watch your step, or that friend is no good, or don't take them drugs, or don't do this, or this is, we had that. But now these kids that are coming up, their mothers are TikToking with them, their grandmothers are TikToking with them. Everybody wants to be down. Everybody wants to be down with the current thing. They get to live their second lives via these machines, where before they didn't have friends or attention, or maybe their husband died or left them. And everybody gets to be cute now. Even the people that aren't cute are cute on social media. Even the people that aren't attractive are attractive on social media. Even the people that aren't famous or intelligent, they get to be all of that on social media. All they need is about 10 followers. And it's like, oh, I got an audience. I don't care if it's 10 people. I get to post what I look like, gut and all. And I know them 10 people, at least 7 are going to say, you go, girl. You go. You confident, right? Same thing with dudes. They don't even have to do much. And they got dudes in the comments high-fiving them. So it's a whole different world that we're living in, right? So should we separate? You seen the thumbnail. I had Kodak Black, Tekashi 6ix9ine, Cardi B, that new rapper, Glorilla, right? Do you think that those type of people, that element, should we separate from those type of people? I just heard today a 14-year-old boy shot 2 women and murdered them in a house, at a party. And they're talking about trying him as an adult. I would say, yeah, I'm all for trying him as an adult, right? And then, you know, when they go to his Instagram, he got all the guns, you know what I mean? He's out here, he got all, he has the kit. He has the pants below his ass, the Gucci belt on his thighs, and the guns all in the pictures, right? You already know the costume they wear. You know how they coming, right? So is he someone, like, should these people be ostracized for the sake of the advancement of our people? Like, should we stop milking religion and people with the violins? Like, no, let's save them. We've seen it over and over again. When people do make it out of the neighborhoods that a lot of us grew up in, when they make it out and go back, right? It's tragic. And the list is growing. You got PNB Rock, you got Nipsey Hussle, right? You got Pop Smoke, you got, you know what I mean? These people are Takeoff. You got these people enveloped in this demographic of degeneracy, and it always seems to bring them back down, right? And what were they doing at said time? The majority of them, with the exception of Pop Smoke, was going back to lift up that person, to lift up that brother they left behind, to lift up that sister they left behind, to their detriment, right? And way before that, we've lost a lot of activists at the hands of people in their own race, at the hands of people that look like them. And if the person didn't look like them directly that pulled the trigger, they helped people pull the trigger that look like them. So is separation better for us and safer and makes more sense? Because we lost so many amazing souls that was such a benefit to our people, because they went back. They didn't separate. Right? So I didn't even get into my little monologue with the celebrity gossip, because I wanted to get right in, because I was late, guys. So I was like, let me get right into the topic. Jupiter Gone Wild said, once I leave the inner city, there's no need for me to go back. I mean, the point is to make it out, right? I don't understand. 50-50, I understand the going back, but then I don't. You know what I mean? Um, I don't understand it more than I understand it. So I'm gonna drop the link, you guys. I bothered I bothered y'all enough in the beginning. Thank you for putting up with me, darlings. Thank you again for my new subbies. There's so many of y'all. Thanks to the Star Report is always a big supporter of On the Block with Jen. So salute to Star, Mr. Terrain, as I call him. All right, guys. So I dropped the link, and I want to have this conversation. I really hope, there's my hope. I hope Juana comes back, and I hope Brother Ish comes back, because I know they're on opposite ends of this. Um, and I just think, I don't know, I just think that how many times does something have to happen over and over and over again, right? For you to realize it's not working, right? Like, why do people do that? It's like same thing over and over and over and over again, and then it's not working. And then there's this thing where, there's an emphasis. If you notice, there's an emphasis, like Brother Ish talks about, he's a separatist. He believes in separating from white people, right? But when you look at it, if you're playing chess, chess in our society, whether you like it or not, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. You have to work amongst white people. You must. Now, if they weren't the majority of the population, then that's a different conversation, right? But they do own the record labels. They do own the media. We've got one lifetime. We're not living 500 years to where we could do shit how we want. We really got to get it in and get it done. Try to create some generational wealth for our kids. We don't have time to conquer, you know what I mean, an entire race of people in our lifespan. Plus, people aren't down like that, right? There's no army, right? Although the Black Israelites showed up to the Barclays Center to yell about Kyrie, all the motherfuckers went home. All of them went home. Wasn't nobody out there that was willing to pull guns and kill a bunch of, white folk and fight against the system. They went out there, they yelled in uniform, right? Then they went home, right? It was a great display. A lot of people like, look at the display, but it's a great display. But if there's no generational wealth in that crowd of Black men, it doesn't matter. They just went out there to yell. Doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't at all. Look cool, look hella cool, but it doesn't fucking matter, right? So who should we really separate from? I would say the people you can't make money with and the people that are going to bring you down. And that's usually the degenerates in your neighborhood. It ain't the Jewish guy that owns CNN. It ain't the Jewish guy that owns the record label. So when we talk about separating, who should we separate from? Oh, Juana's here. No, honey, I'm not pushing 50. I'm 50. I'll be 60 next week. And the week after that, I'll be 70. Hello, Juana.
Hey, Jen, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you good. I so wanted you up here for this because I know we had this conversation before. And something you said made me laugh when you was telling Brother Ish, well, take them with you.
Yeah, I really appreciate Brother Ish.
I do in my face.
I really do, because he's sincere. You want a person who's passionate either way. I respect that. Don't be lukewarm.
Right.
So he's passionate. He's just misguided. I don't like to say people are wrong. I don't like to call people liars, but it's just misguided. It doesn't work. Not for the majority of the people out here. And I hate that proximity argument about when we do things to one another. Well, that's because
Okay, what would you say?
The argument is, well, they harm one another. You harm who's right, amongst you. That can be true, but you never see the people who are doing very, very well, who live amongst each other as a group out there somewhere in the suburbs doing that crap. So it's like, the argument is, yes, people, you're most likely to harm someone who's right in your vicinity, but at the same time, there's a reason why it's not wealthy people, rich people, doing these degenerate things,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't speak to that. They just smooth right over that part. It's the people who are, like, we know who they are. I hate to use those words, but we know who we're talking about. It's
Mm-hmm.
the degenerates who are doing those things. And I don't understand why the people who don't even live near those degenerates or have anything to do with them, why they're the number one supporters of them. Why are they the ones who are always speaking up for them? Do they not recognize that we're not talking about them? We're talking about a different class of people. See,
Mm-hmm.
because it's beyond color. It's
Mm-hmm.
so far beyond color. And I've said this on other panels.
Mm-hmm.
Martin Luther King wouldn't have had a cup of coffee with a lot of these degenerate people. He was in a separate class. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's powerful when you really think about it, Jen. You know, it- but I do think we do need to separate, and you can do things. You can promote them and support them through charity work and stuff like that, donating your money and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's all kinds of things that can be done, but to actually physically, go back into those environments and try to, create something, everybody has to get out themselves first. You have to get out. And that's why when you're on a plane and the oxygen level, changes or whatever and the mask drops, they said even before your own child, put
Mm-hmm.
your own mask on first before you can, attempt to save someone. And sometimes I feel like people, like Brother Ish, they're wanting to attempt to save a group of people when first just save yourself first. Be an example. By you being an example, you can people you can they can look up to you and figure it out for themselves. And you don't even need Jesus for that. But if Jesus is involved, only Jesus saves. Joanna can't save. I'm not the savior, you
Right.
know. So that's what I have to say about that, and I'll let you continue.
So you made two great points. The proximity thing. You're absolutely right. People in Beverly Hills aren't murdering each other. They're not murdering each other. They're not carjacking each other. So that's a great point. That's actually something I never thought about before regarding the proximity thing. You're absolutely right. And also, I think there's a tinge, people don't talk about it, but I think there's a tinge of, like you said, you have to save yourself first. I noticed that, the Jesus complex, like the no, I'm in my sandals and in my robe, I don't have anything, but I want to go help people that don't have anything either. I also think a little tinge of self-esteem is stuck in there. Reminds me of like my girlfriend who I tried to like match up with a guy that was doing well in life, and she was like no, because she felt like she wasn't up to par with that person. But then I would see her like a week later with a guy that was just garbage. And I'm like, wait a minute, I just tried to hook you up. No, I'm just, but there's a comfort thing for certain people. And I think people that do that, they have the Jesus, no, it's because you don't know how to get out. But your excuse is, oh, I want to help these people here. But it's because you can't get out yourself. But if you play the saint among these people, then it makes you feel better. But you're the same as
Right.
they. So I think that's
And
interesting.
and see, water. You know the old adage about water seeks its own level. We do really truly know our lanes. We know where we fit in.
Mm-hmm.
And it does have a lot to do with character. That young lady, your friend who you just spoke on, she knows her lane. That's where she's most comfortable. That's where she's more comfortable, and that's where maybe you can find your joy and your happiness. You know, um, but when people do make it out or make it to a certain level, and you're seeking your level, it really has to do with your nature and your own character, who you are as a person inside.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's very important.
Hmm. Big Truck, what say you, sir? What's up? We missed you last stream.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I was with this chick and everything, and I did see you come on live, but I was too busy entertaining her.
Hey, priorities.
Yeah, priorities are important, you know?
What do you think?
Just so I answer your exact question, what's your question again?
My question is, should we separate? Should we separate from the degeneracy in our community so we could advance?
Well, I've kind of alluded to this before, but you got to see the issue is ultimately, and it's funny, the black, well, they call it the black community. I don't like to even use that term, honestly, but for sake of argument, I'll just say it. The black community has like almost the exact same problem that the Hispanic community has. We live amongst the black and the Hispanic poor, right? So the impoverished are going to, for the most part, stay impoverished. Now, with whites, when they get money, they get away from the white poor as quickly as they possibly can. Take a look at California. They've got these people literally shitting in the front of businesses, hotels, this, that, and other. It's happening here in New York too. Like even like in Billionaires Row and in these areas where it's wealthy, the Upper West Side and these areas. I mean, you've got homeless. You hear about it, robbing people, threatening to push people in front of trains, this, that, and other. These people, for the most part, a lot of them should be in institutions. Here's the problem: they took away the institutions. They took those away. They left you nothing but jail, right? But a lot of these people fuck up to the point where normally they would go to jail, but now we've got laws that keep them out of jail. So now they're right up in our face all day long. So you can't get away from them because, or you've got some people claim that they've been redlined out of housing, or if you just look at regular, we can't afford houses in better areas, even when you're making decent money. There's always something that somebody says stopped us from getting the house we wanted, despite the fact we had the money, I had the credit, where people say stuff like this, right? Or maybe there's neighborhoods where they won't sell to you because you don't look like them or you're not the same religion or this, that, and other. So my point is we're stuck in many cases living amongst these people, or we have family who are stuck for whatever reason living amongst these people. And these people are constantly causing problems, constantly doing crimes, constantly doing this, constantly doing that. But the thing that bothers me more than anything is that there is a concerted effort to perpetuate these people. Like I just made a video real quick about there's a shortage of black male seamen. I don't know if you heard that story, but it was in the New York Times. And I'm saying it even with seriousness. Because what it is that you've got these LGBT communities, you've got even couples, and they want semen, but they only want the highest quality black male semen, right? So as far as I'm concerned, I'm like, yo, wait a minute. Here we are complaining about broken homes, and we're complaining about fathers and this, that, and other. And you've got these people who literally want to take our DNA from us so that they can replicate our better traits without having any connection to us at all. They were saying in the story, black males, for example, only 2% of the donors. And I'm like, yeah, I hope you don't get it. Because the thing about it is, why should we be perpetuating more broken homes? Why should we be perpetuating more fatherless homes? No, I'm not giving you nothing. And the thing about it is, the first thing they want to do is want to insult you. They'd be like, oh, yeah, well, we don't want your semen. Guess what? I'm 6 feet tall. I'm 6'6". I make over $200,000 a year. I run a successful business. I'm exactly the kind of semen you're looking for. And I ain't giving it to you. I'm not giving it to you. I don't want to perpetuate what you're trying to perpetuate. So we have a concerted effort to perpetuate the poverty. We have a concerted effort to perpetuate the insanity that goes on. And instead of just being able to pull it out by the root or kill it, they've done everything they could to keep it alive and in our face.
I wanted to bring up, I was barely watching on and off the American Music Awards. And I noticed that they announced this female rapper, a new female rapper called Glorilla. And it was like, she's performing. And I was like, wait a minute, that girl, it was literally just months back that I saw she went viral with a song called, I believe it's Fuck Nigga Free or Fuck Boy Free, one of those things. And the video is just like, it's really ratchet. There's like a pregnant girl. they're hopping around, they're carrying babies, and the song is basically "fuck nigga free." And then there was some black kids that responded to that, and the response song was "broke bitch free," I think, or something like that. So they were kind of responding to each other. Anyway, that's what led to her viral fame, like this really ratchet looking, just that demographic, those neighborhoods went viral, right? And then her follow up to that song was murder, something about murdering babies, and they were dancing and twerking in front of the abortion clinic. Now, those are the only two videos I saw of her. She's brand new. She literally just broke out. Her breakout song was the "fuck boy free" or "fuck nigga free." Um, but she's at the American Music Awards months later. And I found that to be very, very interesting. Now, while some people automatically say, well, it's the Jewish people pushing it, I'm like, but those are her words, those are her friends. That's her music, that's her choice, right? So can we continue blaming these Jewish people or white people for giving those people a stage? Shouldn't we be saying, like, no, we don't want her up there?
Right, because that speaks to her character. That speaks to her character, and it speaks to our character. If you're listening to that, if you're patronizing that, that speaks to that individual's character. That's your taste. Jen, I think I've shared this with you. I have like 3 millionaires in my immediate family. My mother's older sister, and one of her younger sister's daughter who made it well in real estate, and I got a cousin in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
Now, then there's some people in the same family, the same mother, same father, in prison, homeless. Now, this older auntie who's wealthy lives out in Laguna Beach in California. She bought my grandmother a home 30, 40 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
She bought it. She paid for it. She paid the taxes for it. She did all the renovations for it. The other ones didn't put a dime into it. Now that my grandmother passed away in 2019, and my auntie wants to go ahead and sell the house,
Mm-hmm.
she's willing to share some of the proceeds with her other siblings,
Mm-hmm.
and they're mad at her. They're mad at her because they think that they deserve more of the profit, that they didn't participate in it. This is the kind of degeneracy I'm talking about. But it's, for me, it's on a more personal level that I get to witness,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And you got these grown ass women in their 70s, Jen, you know, going back and forth, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just sad. And calling my auntie, all out of her name and stuff, and she's done nothing but give to them all her life because she made it.
Mm-hmm.
She's got a mansion out in Laguna Beach. She ain't coming back to Arkansas. And they could have did the same thing, but they didn't choose to do that. They didn't do what she did. That she made the template. She's the oldest one. She set the template, and they instead they chose to wallow in their form of degeneracy. Living on Section 8 and food stamps and the rest of it. It's just weird. But I got these dynamics in my own family where you can see how some people, you know, seek their level and they rise, and some people, they kind of stay stagnant on the bottom, and they want to bring others down and admire in that with them. What do you do about them? I told my auntie, leave them alone. Don't give them shit. They
Mm-hmm.
don't deserve shit. You
So that
know?
reminds me of recently when Jalen Rose, the basketball player, I believe that's his name. There's a video. His sister recorded him. His mother passed away, and he went back to claim the house that his sister was living in. And she was recording him, following him around the house, recording him, saying, "Oh, Mister in charge of everything, blah blah. I live here." And he was like, "No, you're squatting here." But you can tell in the video, like it was live, like I guess she was like trying to you know put him in a bad light, like, oh look, my brother's coming here to kick me out. Now we don't know their story, we don't know the family story. It did look like she was suffering from some sort of addiction or rehab, because she mentioned that in the video. But he was basically like very nonchalant, like, you have to go, you have to get out the house. Now, I don't know why he wanted her out the house. Was he going to sell the house? But I know his mom passed away, so he's probably coming to, tie up loose ends. But she looked like, they just looked like they were on the opposite sides, of the success spectrum. So even like that, like what you're saying, family members are resentful of the ones that make it out. And I did want Brother Ish up here, because he does talk about, he's a separatist, but then he also talks about helping the quote unquote degenerate, the degenerate society, and why it's important to help them and be with them. That's why you said what you said, take them with you to an island. So it's like, what does that look like? Because, people are quick to tell you, well, you think you're all that, or you went Hollywood, or you don't care about anybody but yourself. And it happens to all of us coming from those environments. It's like it's almost like a fear of doing too good or shining too much, because the person, they'll badmouth you to the family. Like, you'll be like the odd person out, like the black sheep, the black sheep of the family.
Right. I agree. It's really sad. And I think, you have to separate from those types completely. And what Big Truck was saying was pretty interesting, where he said, in places like New York, how you kind of all meshed in there together. It was my understanding that there's places that you can get away from the urban communities in New York.
Yeah, it's called Long
Upstate New
Island.
York. Okay.
Have you been here before? Have you been in New York City?
I've been to New York City. I haven't been to upstate New York, Schenectady, and all those different types of places. And
all right. Well, long story short, once you're inside New York City, it's like automatically, it's like all the laws change. It's like everywhere else in New York. It's like, for instance, if you want self-defense, if you want to buy a gun, for example, it's very, very simple. As soon as you step across that border and you're in Nassau County, if you're inside New York City, you're basically left to the mercy of the freaking police and their responsiveness. And if anybody hassles you or this, that, and other, you're mostly disarmed. Now, most of the stuff and the crimes that you hear about happening in New York City, that stuff doesn't happen when you cross that border and go into Long Island. And that stuff definitely doesn't happen when you go into upstate New York, because everybody is, for the most part, armed or walking around carrying, right? So
that's an example of the separation that we're talking about that's required. See, they've let New York City be the place for degenerates.
But they designed it that way because they had segregated blacks inside the city from being able to move out to Long Island. What they did was they set up the GI Bill to build Levittown, and whites built Levittown, and they expanded Levittown outside of the city, and they left blacks inside the city to build up Jamaica. So what ended up happening was, as the city slowly took on more and more foreigners, the city grew to basically be mostly minorities, and all the whites basically moved outside the city. So they damn sure weren't going to give up their Second Amendment rights. Meanwhile, the city, they completely disarmed us. Now you have like blacks and Hispanics moving out to Long Island, and now we are able to get all the rights that whites had before when they were segregated from us, because now we basically followed them and we're doing what they're doing. So we have bigger houses, bigger properties. We're armed to the teeth out here. But as soon as you go into the city, automatically now you're on the defensive, because they've literally taken your rights away from you. And they've done it in a way where nobody even fights back, which is why I appreciate the Supreme Court for so much, for actually, restoring our abilities and restoring our rights in a way that even the state couldn't challenge it, because it was unconstitutional what they were doing. So right. my bottom line is they keep the degeneracy in our face, and then there's a welfare state to support it. That's the problem. Yeah. I want to see it all torn down. I want to see it burn, honestly.
Big Truck, I won't even live the capital of Arkansas is Little Rock, and that's where I was born and raised. But I don't live there. I live in upper part of Arkansas around a lot of white people. I don't live around a lot of blacks. And up until about 2 years ago, about a year ago, I lived in the country, in the deep country, where I could walk out on my deck naked if I wanted to. Nobody was around, and there's wildlife out there. I mean, I'm a black woman living out in the middle of nowhere. I don't live around a bunch of blacks at all. It's not safe.
I live with blacks. I live with Hispanics too. I got Mexican neighbors right next door. I used to have Dominican neighbors right to the next door to the other side. I got black neighbors right across the street. Right? No, what it is that the class of people is just higher. It doesn't matter where they're from. It doesn't matter what their ethnicity or race is. It's just that these are middle class people that I'm living around, or some of them are upper class people like myself, but we're all living together. There's no lower class people around because they can't afford to be here. So what it is de facto segregation. You're segregating people by finance.
By finance, by class. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Okay,
I agree with that.
that was my question. What's up, Haran DeMarco?
Yeah, it was probably.
What's Bobby? I love this comment that Don Levon said. I don't believe in reaching back and helping no one. If you want me to help you, you'll have to meet me where I'm at. I think that's beautiful. I think that's fair. And I think that's safer. If someone is willing to meet you where you are, then that means they're willing to put the work in, versus you going down to the hood and it's like, let me help these people who shoot me for a diamond bracelet. I like that. Meet me where I'm at. I'm here. You need the help. You need the resources, the network. Meet me where I'm at. I'm not going nowhere. To me, it's not worth it. Haran DeMarco, what do you think?
Just want to say that I just stepped in for a minute to hear Truck's explanation in regards to Long Island. He's absolutely right. I grew up in Far Rockaway, Queens. I don't know if anyone's familiar with that area.
I am.
Put that gun away, Big
yeah.
Truck.
Oh.
I can hear it.
So it's I was wondering, and I was like, okay, maybe he's doing something. Anyway,
just cleaning my Desert Eagle.
I hear you, bro. Anyway, Far Rockaway, Queens, essentially was like maybe 20% below. Last time I checked, might be more, maybe 20% below the average earners of New York City on a whole. So we're talking like maybe $30,000-$40,000 a year. So we're talking about, folks from the mud. Now, growing up out of that kind of, situation, I'm just really have become appalled at the whole need to celebrate poverty and degeneracy. And in many ways, I believe that there's a sect of our people that has associated Black identity with poverty and degeneracy and a lack of ambition, a need to not, move, realize one's potential, to be failures, and to answer the question, I think, yes, our best bet is to understand and accept the fact that there are two Black Americas and to be fine with that. And if we are truly serious about moving forward as a quote unquote community, we have to be fine with the idea of leaving that sect of people behind, or at least a large sect of them behind. Can some of them be saved? Maybe. Maybe, you know, I mean, do we have time to really put in the work to see who wishes to be saved, who's worth saving? I don't think we have that time anymore. Maybe we did, maybe a couple of decades ago, but there is a so-called point of no return, and I think we're well past it. I think those who share the same vision, those who are on the same page, we need to congregate more with each other and ensure that we just shift the brand, the perception of the brand from what it is now.
What's the brand? Thank you for the super chat, Don Levon. You know.
Oh, the brand is failure. The brand
Oh,
is fucking failure. That's what the brand, and you know I mean, the eyes of every fucking body. This shit is failure. And to some degree, not even some degree, you know, we have to also accept the fact that, you know, black degeneracy in many ways is $1 billion industry.
mm,
There's a
mm.
lot of industries profiting off of the perception of black people being less than human.
Can I piggyback off that? Welcome, brother Ish. We've been waiting on you. Um, Don Levon, same. Uh, I wanted to piggyback off that. Haran, that's why I said that there's always this whether it's because of religion or whether it's because a couple of people in the chat have said there's no way you can make it out and not go back. We have a responsibility to each other. If we make it out, we have to go back for the others, right? That's usually the narrative. But again, like I said in the beginning, people have to realize that it's $1 billion industry. A lot of these female rappers that are talking about sticking sprites up their ass and sucking dick down their throat and getting money from dudes and, you know, prostituting themselves and twerking, you know what I mean? They know that's where the money's at and they want the money. They don't want to be saved. They don't want to be saved. They want to do that all the way to the bank, right? It's easy money. It's fast money. I mentioned that rapper Glorilla literally in a matter of months, she was on an American Music Awards stage, something that back in the day would take 10, 15 years of work to do. She just did a song about black men were fuck niggas and aborting black babies and twerked in front of abortion clinic. And she's literally on American Music Awards stage alongside Cardi B in a matter of months. So it's very lucrative. So why do we keep thinking that these people want to be saved? Everybody in the hood wants to be a rapper or a basketball player and they're comfortable. So why go back and risk life and limb, you know what I mean, jail time to save people who are like, get out my way. I can twerk and talk about sucking dick and be on the stage at the American Music Awards in a matter of months, not years, months.
I have a theory about a lot of this behavior that I'm also seeing. First of all, a lot of these people who are behaving in this manner on these, you know, I mean, platforms, a lot of them come from very stable homes. They come from some very conservative backgrounds. They in some contexts, you know, I mean, they're either they come from middle class homes or they come from upper class homes. From my understanding, Little John's parents were brain surgeons.
Oh,
Oh yeah, he comes from good stock. You know what I mean? I don't know what his educational background is, but he doesn't come from, you
He had a
know.
degree. He had a college degree.
So okay, so with that being said, you know, there's a lot of people who are coming from the middle class, who are coming from the upper class, and it is an example of the fact that as a people, black people are not in the same space that we were financially, you know, 50 or 60 or 70 years ago. You know, it's not the world that it was during Jim Crow and so on and so forth. There are successful black people. There are people who are moving forward and so on and so forth. I believe it would be disrespectful and extremely disingenuous to relate our, you know, quote unquote plight to what our ancestors went through. And one thing about the statement that Chuck was making about Long Island, you know, is that yes, there used to be an imaginary line between the city and Long Island, basically the suburbs. And the funny thing about it is that I don't think the white majority banked on hip hop happening, because when it comes to black and brown people back in the days in the 60s, 70s, and the 80s, and so on and so forth, they literally just threw us in the city to die. Those are impoverished, extremely impoverished areas. You know what I mean? And they just threw us there while they thrived where they thrived. And it just so happens that we were able to turn our situation around through creativity and ingenuity and so on and so forth. But I say all this to say, I think there's a piece, there's something inside those who might not have lived in poverty, who feel that if they do not either um, be sympathetic towards degeneracy or display degeneracy, they are not being true to their blackness. I think
Oh,
subconsciously they find some sort of synonymous connotation between degeneracy and poverty and blackness. And in some ways, I would say either shame. I would go as far to say that maybe some of them are shameful, that they or embarrassed that they may have been black and did not live a life of poverty. That is my perception and my question
holy
oftentimes.
fuck.
And see, um, Haran, you remember when W.B. Du Bois wrote in his Souls of Black Folk, he spoke about the two Americas that you mentioned. You said it's kind of like there's two Black Americas, and that's what Du Bois was speaking about in Souls of Black Folks. That is within the culture. There's two varieties, because he went around into 1930s rural Black America. And Du Bois grew up, in upper state New York or somewhere like that. And his mother was a very well-to-do Black business owner. He never knew a hungry day in his life. And this is, in late 1800s. He never knew a hungry day. And he spoke about this. So this conversation is not necessarily new. But Facebook and YouTube has put a lot of this on Front Street. We can see the two Black Americas in our face on social media every day now, and I find that very interesting. Very interesting. I'd like to hear you all speak more to that. That what we're witnessing, you can hear it, you can witness it. When you see a thumbnail and and I'm a grammar, Nazi. You can see the illiteracy. You can, right there for the world to see. Um,
And there's no
there's a
shame.
very
There's no
and
shame.
there's no shame.
No.
I'd like to hear more what you all think about all that.
Before I throw it to Brother Ish, that's deep what you said, Haran, and I have to co-sign that, because if you notice in hip hop, you can destroy a career by exposing a rapper who's had a good life. We saw what happened with 50 Cent and Ja Rule. And when 50 exposed that Ja Rule grew up in a good home and he was a Jehovah Witness and he had great parents, right? Everybody started calling him Wankster. Everybody was on 50 Cent's side. So there is shaming to if you grew up okay. If you didn't grow up in the slums, there is very much a shaming, which is nuts when you think about it. But I understand it because I'm from those neighborhoods. I wanted to show you the thumbnail. What's up, No Saint? Thank you, Afro Universe, so much for your support. I wanted to show you guys this picture in case people didn't get to see what the thumbnail is. So when I'm watching the American Music Awards, and it's not a big deal, but then it is, because I'm watching all the white artists that come up and win awards, and the white artists that are performing, and then come the Black artists or the Latin artists. And I'm like, why is it that our artists always look like filth. They're always talking about filth. They look like filth. They either look like strippers or streetwalkers. And I'm like, is it an age thing? Is it because, I'm older and it's like, oh, this is what the young people are doing? But even back in the day, women that look like that and men that acted like that had a place. They weren't on worldwide stages to the point where they are now. So I wanted to show you guys the thumbnail that I'm talking about. So this is usually, what our artists look like. This is what our artists look like, right? We have the Cardi B's, Latina, Tekashi 6ix9ine, Latino. We got Meg Thee Stallion. We got the new girl, Glorilla, and then we have Kodak Black. Like, that's who they put on stage, right? When they're talking about Black and Latin music, that's who hits the stage. And then when they're talking about white music, it's Taylor Swift, right? It's Justin Bieber, right? So how can that not continue affecting us? And how can we keep blaming white people when these kids are saying, I can be as degenerate as I want to be and I can get rich? How can we continue saying that we have to go back and save these people when they don't want to be saved? Everybody wants to be rich, let's face it. So why should we keep going back? Brother Ish, I think it's a good time for you to come in, sir.
I be feeling like you trying to set me up sometimes. I'll be like, okay, sister, walk me walking me down this dark alley, and say, hey, we're just gonna go down to this little club over here, and all of a sudden it's like, but this is a dead end street. And who are these four guys over here in the corner?
I can't set you up because those are your beliefs.
Well, I'm being funny. I'm being funny in truth, but I think that there's also, we have to be clear about certain aspects of the beliefs. And there's, there are many times there's misperceptions, and we don't always have the time to really expound on the issue. But I'll say this: there is for record's sake, there is a period of time when in the nation that we believe that there is this extension of redemption will end. So it's not just a constant forever, reaching downward or towards those who have been who are in a certain state. After this message of redemption that has been presented, there'll be a point of decision, then there'll be a point of judgment, and there'll be a point of, those who are on one side will experience the cataclysm of being on the wrong side. So that's kind of the nation's perspective. So it's not just
what's the wrong side? What's the wrong side? So we understand. Like when you say those that are on the wrong side, what's the wrong side?
So I phrase this properly. I would say the who are not for the upliftment of the people, who are not for having a more civil society, who are not for having freedom, justice, and equality in a community. That's what I'm saying. Those who want to continue to live the, for lack of a better term, the nigga lifestyle, there's judgment on that. So there's a time period of saying, hey, look, these circumstances and conditions are not the way that we should be. There's a way to be, there's a pathway of redemption, and we have a methodology. And that's what the nation is presenting. And we're giving that extension to a period of time. And once that period of time is up, when we believe that judgment is coming, then that door is closed. It's almost like if you want to use the biblical story of Noah's Ark, there was a certain period of time when Noah preached to the people. And then there was a point he started building an ark. And then when the clouds started coming, He continued to preach to the people, and when the first drop of rain came down, he said, "All right, y'all, this is when it's going down. Either you get on this ark or it's a wrap." And then he closed the door. It was a wrap. So
Okay,
so in that story, not that's a reality, but in that story, that is kind of the steps of the process that the nation has.
okay, so really quickly before we pass the mic, because I know Jabari came up, but he doesn't have a lot of time. With Noah's Ark, with that story, there was punishment, right? It was, if you believe in it or not, I don't, you guys know I'm an atheist, but if you believe in the story, that actually happened. There was a flood, everybody died except for the animals that were on the ship and the people. So what story are you saying? Like, if there is no the other people on the other side, what happens to them according to your belief system?
They suffer the consequences of where they choose to stay. If they choose to stay in the let's say, for instance, let's do let's create a scenario. There's a country, let's say a country in Africa says, "Hey, we're welcoming all African Americans, but these are the terms." Or Jamaicans, we're calling everyone home, and let's say that it's somewhere like Senegal. We'll just use Senegal as an example, and you can come in, but understand that living in this society, there are certain rules. Now, if you don't feel like you can abide by those rules, don't come. If you feel like there's a need for you to shake some of the bad habits that you were going to bring into this social construct, then there's a place over here halfway through that you can go through this process of reformation.
Okay, can we not do, wait, I'm sorry. Can we not do hypotheticals? Like, what's actually happening? Like, what is, from where your standpoint, your belief system, your group, what's actually happening? Not a hypothetical in Africa with this tribe and that tribe. What would actually happen? What's the punishment? What's the result? That's what I'm trying to get to. Can you use like modern day? What would happen in your collective if there is a result or a punishment or anything? Like, what would happen? What is that? You're coming to save me in the hood. I don't give a damn. I'm gonna keep stripping, hoeing, selling crack with my friends. I'm gonna keep fucking up. What happens to me according to your collective?
So then you live and die by that lifestyle while we move on over here into our new civilization. That's the bottom line.
Or just abandonment. That's it. Like, just like, do your thing.
Do your thing. I mean, and then whatever, like if that society ends up falling like Rome did, which kind of had that same type of lifestyle, and there's a collapse in that whole, and it just goes into a full onset degradation, and everybody implodes and kills each other and does whatever they need to do, then that's where you left yourself, because you wanted to stay in that lifestyle. We extended an olive branch of saying, hey, come out of this lifestyle, change your lifestyle, change the way you're thinking, move towards a more positive destiny. And if you don't want to accept that, once we've closed that door of opportunity, it's on you. But we have to do our due diligence as how we see ourselves, of reaching out to those and saying, here's the alternative, and here's a pathway of redemption.
Okay, so interesting. All right, I do want to pass the mic. Jack, give me 1 second. No Saint, 1 second. Jabari has to leave, so I wanted to hear what Jabari has to say. I do want to accommodate people who are just coming up for a second.
Hey, Jen.
Hey, Jabari.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, I first of all, interesting topic, great topic, great topic. I think you have to look at the ideology that goes back to the time of slavery, or even if you want to go back even further, slaves that weren't that they felt would turn them in were killed when they were escaping. And if a slave wanted to go back after they got to the first to the first stop on the Underground Railroad, they killed him. And I'm not advocating the murder of people, obviously, but metaphorically and factually, sometimes you've got to leave people behind. You know, Jen, you left your old neighborhood. I left my own neighborhood. Sometimes you have to move away. Sometimes you have to, a part of doing better is evolving, and a part of evolving is moving on. I mean, some people aren't going to want to do better. And those people, you have to make a choice. Are you going to let those people keep you from moving on, or are you going to leave them behind? And it's a horrible, we've been trained to believe that you have to save everyone. And you can't. That's not realistic. You know, there are a limited number of seats on this lifeboat that we call life. You know, there's even fewer seats on the yacht we call success.
That's a fact.
And you have to move on. And for sometimes by moving on and leaving those people, you set the example where people see, if I make these choices, I'll succeed. And the people that stay behind are the example of what not to do, much in the same way. So it's a horrible reality. It's a horrible truth. But I think that life, history, and whatever belief system you have, whether it's Islam, whether it's organized religion, whether it's Christianity or Judaism, whether it's Buddhism, there is a central truth that you have to leave those who don't want salvation behind. And it's a harsh reality. And it's one that people in other parts of the world understand.
Do you think they understand it better than we do?
I do. Because because of our struggle, we believe that we have a united goal. And just because we were on the same path doesn't mean that we have the same goal. Doesn't mean that we're trying to get to the same destination. And I think that's what gets lost. It's a horrible reality, but it is reality. You know, and as I say this, I think about friends of mine that haven't made it. And it's a lot of them. You know, in 48 years, you lose a lot of people. And a lot of them is because of decisions that they've made. And I feel like I'm still alive because of decisions I made, and I'm thriving because of the decisions I still make. You know, I feel like I haven't been on as much, but it's expansion. I've focused on expanding my business, and, you know, it takes a lot more time. You know, everybody's not going to work a 20-hour day, 2 or 3 months in a row, you know, but that's a decision that we make. You know, you want to do better, so you do better. You know, everybody's not going to spend the time that it takes to put together a show while you're writing a screenplay, while you're still auditioning. You see what I'm saying? So nobody sees the sacrifice. People just want to run to your destination with you. And those are the people that you have to leave behind. And, you know, that's my take on it.
Thank you. Jack Frost, I know you wanted to say something. You can jump in here. Ish said he needs 10 minutes.
Thanks, Jen. Well, here's the situation, because I think separatism, it starts at home. And I'll tell you my story, because the situation that I had, you see, I'm a Hebrew Israelite. And I literally tell my parent or my father that I don't want to work for you, because I want to be my own broadcaster. I want to have my own channel. And I think I have a very successful channel, because they wanted me to work for them in their industry, because they said I wasn't contributing to rent. But they want me to die, because they kicked me out and I had to go to a shelter. And they literally convinced everybody to stop coming to my channel and stop donating. And they've literally convinced everybody. And that's my only source of income.
Your channel is your only source of income?
That's a fact. And I've And I've been telling my supporters that they need to donate because I depend on them. And my father and my brothers have literally convinced everybody to stop donating to my channel. And I think separatism starts at home. So that's why I left, because I need to advance. But now I'm living day to day and I can barely make it. How?
Is that really your voice, Jack?
That's a fact.
That's a fact. Can you cam up?
Wow.
That's the Spider-Man dude. He's just the third time he's tried this.
We'll get rid of
No
him.
way that dude. First of all, he got a picture of a black man who looks like his name is Cecil from Mississippi. Ain't no way in hell his voice sound like that. I look like a
it could
Detroit
be a
mechanic.
Mike Tyson thing.
Yeah, that look like a Detroit mechanic. That dude, that is not his voice.
That man said a Detroit mechanic.
See. Those are the folks that get left off the ark.
Yes.
All right, y'all.
Yes.
Y'all have a good night.
Man. You take care, man.
Be easy, y'all.
Yeah, while he's talking, I'm pulling him up on YouTube, and I'm like, wait, well, it's a black man, I can see, but I'm like, does he sound like that? All right, never a dull moment. Donovan said, is that Gilbert Gottfried? Like, isn't he dead?
R.I.P. man. R.I.P.
Right, he's gone. I want to welcome Patricia, and also No Saint. I know you've been waiting patiently. What say you, sir?
Pow! That guy had me cracking up, man. He's gonna that was funny.
Never a dull moment on the black.
Yeah, I want to say there's a couple of things. First of all, Joanna was talking about the grammar on. She reads the grammar and does a grammar check. Man, I'm not writing an essay on on a YouTube comment section. Shortcuts are needed, okay? But I get her point. But sometimes it's just easier to, use words that everybody use slang words, or, shorten up things to make it quick, because you're not looking to spend all day. Also, Jen, you were talking about the American Music Awards and how you had, this is what Taylor Swift looks like compared to some of these other artists. And I will say, listen, there are Marilyn Manson. I mean, there's a ton of punk rockers that when I see people that look like that in the store, I'm trying to avoid, you know what I mean? They're out there on all sides. It's just, I think, in my opinion, that I just think I always from the outside, I think there's a pressure. I remember it in high school, you have to speak a certain way, or, if you're, or if you're well educated, then you're not in the clique, right? Or you speak a certain way, you're sounding a certain way, then you're like this. And even Vanilla Ice had to act like he was from the hood to sell his records to the mass when he grew up, pretty wealthy. I just think there's a different pressure. But that being said, that's what I was saying. But there are the white degenerates that show up on TV as well, but they're selling a product. That's who they're. They're it's all to market to whatever that group, the hard rock devil worshiper group is, the punk rock.
Where do they show up?
They've shown up on award shows.
Like who? Give me.
Like Marilyn Manson.
Yep,
Ozzy Osbourne.
say that.
But
Ozzy Osbourne had his own show. They used to think, I mean, hell, man, the church I went to, I thought Ozzy Osbourne was a devil worshiper. I listened to the lyrics and he's talking about learn how to love and forget about hate. I'm like, what was my church talking about? He had some positive.
But Marilyn Manson had a look. He had a
that
look.
Was pretty much it.
He wasn't representing an entire lifestyle, he had a look like no different than Lady Gaga or what Madonna has done. It's a little different. I think it's apples and oranges is what I'm saying. Like when you're talking about walking in a grocery store and there's a bunch of biker dudes there, guys that got purple hair, things like that. I think it's different than a little black girl talking about fuck nigga free and murder was the case and twerking in front of an abortion clinic. I think Marilyn Manson and that girl, it's different. And even Marilyn Manson took many, many, many years before they put him on stage. But Marilyn Manson wasn't singing about aborting white babies. He wasn't singing about white women are bitches and ain't shit and ain't. You see what I'm saying?
Guns N' Roses were though.
It's a little different.
Say it again.
Guns N' Roses were though. They had a couple of bitches ain't shit songs. Yeah, Guns N' Roses did that. But
that's a point. A lot of these, especially the '80s glam rock bands, put women shaking their booties up on stage.
But the difference is this: it wasn't synonymous with white identity, and there lies the difference.
That's what I'm talking about.
You could have,
but then I'm going back to what I'm saying. There's a pressure. I mean, you guys should speak to this more than, but just in my outside looking in opinion, there is a pressure to be that way for whatever reason. Like Will Smith's a square, right? I mean, that's what people think. I mean, he's very smart, very smart guy, but he was a square, he was too mainstream. There's a rejection for whatever reason. For that style, like if white people like it, basically it gets rejected.
Well, it's not for whatever reason. I mean, there is a legitimate reason on why people take on this perspective. So it's not something that just happened out of the atmosphere and the ethos of sociology. It is a period of time when folks began to reject that which was traditional to become atypical. And that there was some sort of archetype of challenging authority. And you're talking about a people who are vacuous of their own identity and traditions. So within that, you see the youth guiding the youth, but both of these individuals are misguided at the same time because there's no foundation based upon a civil social structure. So it's not something, so if you're representing the colonizer or you're representing somebody that is palatable to the colonizer, then we're not with you. You see what I'm saying? And that's the misperception, because the misperception is somebody like Will Smith, let's utilize him since he was brought up in the conversation as an example, represents an intelligent, civilized young man who has, had good content and palatable content that was not something that was degenerative in its language. And it's songs that have lasted the test of time. And that's because he was very conscientious about what he put out there. At a certain point, when degeneracy became the order of the day, then he became non grata because he was perceived as not really representing the culture per se, but that he was just not representing a portion of the culture. He was still representing the culture in truth. So that's an issue that we internally have to address, and that's where separation.
Somebody had to mute.
What'd you say?
Okay. No, somebody had to mute. I was
and that's where separation comes in, because then there's an internal management that can be addressed. There's an internal issues that can be adjusted and corrected in our societies without imposing hands or imposing eyes or imposing opinions. This is now not a part of your conversation of saying, well, it's okay if you do this, or it's all right, or, it doesn't matter. It's just kind of general kind of behavior. No, we have set a tone at this point of what is and what is not acceptable within our culture and our society, and there will be consequences. And when you look at countries that do that successfully, these are successful countries that wall themselves off and deal with the internal dynamics. Now, in some of those countries, they have atrocities. In some of those countries, they do have rights violations. But the dynamic is that they are self-contained and they are responsible for what they created, and that's where separation has its value.
So I want to say this because I hate I loathe well, there was this one white guy that did it one time before. Like, well, it was Guns N' Roses that one time and that year. Our culture is different. It is a constant. It is a constant. And I'm telling you, take it from someone who's watched the last few award shows. Every time there is a Black or Latin person on stage, it is a degenerate, all right, subject and topic. The women are acting like lesbians. They're scissoring on stage. They are twerking. White women do not get on stage and do that repeatedly. So can we not divert to but that white person over there did it because white motherfuckers run this country. So they can get away with being degenerates every now and then. Vanilla Ice can get away with acting like he's Black. Miley Cyrus can twerk for one season, because it's not going to affect her or their community the way it affects ours. These little girls are emulating Cardi B. They want to go strip to get on an AMA stage. They want to talk about abortion. They want to twerk on TikTok, on Instagram, right? So that's not happening. There's not a ripple effect when Guns N' Roses is online talking about white bitches. There's not a ripple effect in their community like there's a ripple effect in our community. So saying that one white man, remember in the 80s, that one white man, it doesn't matter. It really does not matter. It doesn't affect white people the way those girls and those dudes, when they get on stage, the way it affects us and the people in our community. I don't even know why people say that white guy over there did it one time back in 1985. It doesn't matter.
I think there's another layer to this.
Like when you look at, really quickly, and I'll pass the mic. When you look at Glorilla and then Taylor Swift, there's a huge difference. There's a stark difference. There are little girls looking at Taylor Swift. That's who they got to look at on the AMAs. The little girls are looking at Taylor Swift. I want to be like that. The little Black and brown girls have Glorilla up there with Cardi B on a global stage. That is a stark difference. That is what
there's also.
I'm not talking
Can
about.
I jump in?
And Motley Crue way back then.
Can I speak, Jen?
Yes, please.
I want to address this.
I do want to pass the mic. He's been patient. Somebody got to mute. What is that? TV.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, somebody.
Is that me?
Go ahead, Joanna. Yeah, it's like it's a feedback. You hear it? It's a feedback like my voice. It's something you're getting.
Well, I just wanted to address this to No Saint, if my mic sounds okay. I struggle, No Saint, to find the value that that your presence and your perspective has on this particular conversation. I struggle to find the value that you are bringing to the conversation when we have identified ourselves as so-called Black people, and as Brother Ish said, we have identified a problem. And I struggle to find the value that you have when you say, well, this should be okay, or that should be okay, or that piss poor grammar should be okay. And so I would like for you to speak to that. What do you feel that you could add to this conversation when we see amongst our so-called community a sinking ship? What value do you bring to this conversation? No Saint, this is for you.
Okay, so first of all, I never said it was okay. I just was simply pointing out, as far as the grammar goes, I don't think someone putting a comment in YouTube and using whatever little, it's not an essay for a university. That's all I was saying. Like, you always see people correcting people. Oh, it's, you said the wrong to, or there with the apostrophe re. It's just a way to divert from whatever comment they were making. That's okay. On the other hand, I came in, I wanted to really talk. Jen, when she talked about the degenerate looking people on AMA, that wasn't the first comment. What I was gonna bring up how there is something to what the guy who left was saying about people who grow up in a certain, like, for instance, Erica, my wife, she grew up in poverty. There is a close knitted community that when you get out, you feel obligated to help. You don't know how long. And I had to just shut up because I grew up the way in America, the way I grew up, where, I didn't have to rely on my family, my brothers, I don't have brothers, my sisters, or anybody to send me money because I was late on a bill, because I grew up in the United States and I had opportunities, right? And I kept on telling her, she kept on saying, I gotta, I would have, can I have, this is before she was working, I need, $400 for my brother. He needs this or that. And I had to start biting my tongue because I was getting in trouble, because she says, listen, this is my family, right? And I was trying to explain to her that, yes, but you can't help everybody because we have a family and they need things. But I had to shut up because it was very sensitive. Eventually, she came to the point where she realized that, when you're giving people money and they're coming to you and then they keep doing the same thing because they don't feel the pain of that, they don't feel the pain of having to make that money. She finally got it. Like, yeah, I can't keep doing this. I can't. But what I will say in society is we have a problem. I think the more money you get and the further away you get from that poverty, the greedier you get, right? There's certain things that help people out that when they get to a certain stage, they suddenly want to pull the ladder up. They made it out and through hard work or whatever, but they sometimes fail to see that there were certain programs put in place that allowed them to get out. And so that's the only thing I say when I hear, we got to cut people loose. Yeah, there are people that are going to fall by the wayside. And I realize you can't help everybody, but just don't once you make it out. And that's just something that people do. People tend to do is, I had this help up. Now I'm going to cut loose and let everybody else just fend for themselves.
Okay, well, you do recognize that we're also speaking on separating from behaviors, from degeneracy, not just from a financial behavior, but from certain behaviors that we think are holding the community as a group down. This is the conversation that we are also having on this panel right now. So it's not really about everybody else. We're trying to have a surgical type, strategic type conversation about what we are witnessing that we think is bringing the culture down. Do you understand that? No, Saint.
Well, yeah, I'm here. I'm listening. Yeah, I'm hearing what you're saying.
Understand that we're having a very specific conversation about when we say degeneracy, we're talking about the twerking, we're talking about the black on black crime, we're talking about going in bodegas and fighting over and arguing and trying to kill people over potato chips. We're talking about a certain things.
Okay, so I'll let No Saint simmer in that for a minute. I want to thank Don Levon for the super chat. You guys don't leave all these super chats to Don Levon, okay? If you're enjoying the content, please support this show. Mama got to keep the church lights on. Don Levon says the rappers and booty clappers artists seem to be marketed as part of our culture and character trait, unlike the white artist music. Hello. That's why when Miley Cyrus went urban, how did she go urban? I'm sure we all remember. She got the flapping and twerking them little flapjacks on her backside. That is how she was representing urban culture. Let's not act like we didn't see it. Okay, she didn't go the R&B route.
Flapjack. Those
Patricia,
are flapjacks. I just saw
you.
bone. I just saw back and bone when she turned around. I ain't see shit for. I ain't see shit for like.
We saw flapjacks.
I saw back and bone going on. I ain't seen nothing flapping and contouring.
Okay. Let's pass the mic to Patricia.
Hi, can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Welcome.
Yay! I know I sound like a kid. I'm 30. It's okay. So, what I hate the most about the Black community is the normalization of violent behavior. Like, when I was in middle school, I went to school with juvenile delinquents. I was the only kid with no criminal record, and everyday kids tried to pick a fight with me. One day, this girl threw an open container of milk in my direction. My clothes got wet, but instead of fighting her, I went to the principal and I told him about it, and she got expelled. Mm-hmm. Now, when I got home, my mother gave me a dirty look, and she's like, "You soft. You a soft, scary, wannabe white bee. Why didn't you fight her? You should be happy at 14 years old. I'm willing to go to the principal instead of fighting her." Mm-hmm. I even had to talk one of my classmates out of stabbing another one of my classmates in the neck with a knife. I'm like, you know, this is not worth it.
Oh my God. What school did you go to? Where?
In Ohio. Whew. Jesus Christ. Mm-hmm. And then, like, when I was like in my preteen years, my mother, she would teach me how to conduct business over the phone, and she's like, "You got to be rough, you got to be hard, you got to be aggressive, you got to talk, you got to cuss people out." And at 11, I'm like, "Mom, this don't feel right in my spirit to cuss at adults. It don't feel right."
Where was your mother?
It don't feel right.
Was your mother from Ohio as well?
Yes. You could tell she was raised by around a lot of men. Oh, Jesus Christ, you could tell she's got that crabs in the barrel mentality. I remember I lost 70 pounds, and my mother was like, "You think you better than everybody? Why?" Or if I want to learn how to speak French, you a sellout.
So you believe in separating to advance the culture?
Oh yes. Mm. You have to. See, I was raised with a Southern grandma. If I cussed in front of adults or talked about sex, she would slap me into 10 Thursdays in the future. We need that kind of parental guidance, because these Gen Z kids, I don't have kids, but every time I see some of these Gen Z kids, I'm like, oh, Jesus, you don't know how to sign your John Hancock. You don't know how to read an analog clock. It's just terrible. I feel like a disappointed parent every time I see those kids. Like, where did I go wrong?
Okay. I do want to pass the mic back to No Saint. No Saint, do you have a reply for Joanna?
As far as, I mean, I heard what she said, and I understand. Yeah, I understand what she's talking about as far as the degenerate behavior. What she was saying, like they're trying to identify a problem and separate from that problem, and so I understood her point.
Anyone else?
I do think that's kind of harsh that they expel somebody just for throwing milk in your general direction. I think that's a little bit harsh.
No, this girl had a long record of like, it's kind of like.
I was just about to say. I mean, she had that.
It's kind of like. It's kind of like if somebody, it's like, "Oh, I give you $20 if you go over there and hit her." It's that kind of thing. They had a long history doing that.
Harsh. I don't think that was harsh. She threw a freaking container of milk. She should be.
if she had a record, okay, yeah, then it makes sense. But you know,
That's
Yeah, but
my
I didn't.
I
I didn't want
mean,
to fight her because I didn't want to put my
let
education in jeopardy.
right, right,
well let me say this. I would say that it's social inappropriate behavior. So if you wanted to apply a consequence, like you can't do this on a campus, I absolutely get it. Because if somebody threw something at my child, I wouldn't just want my child to just go into not a windmill of just fighting, just automatically, like there's a certain decorum, there's a space for those type of scenarios, and in school, in class, even in the cafeteria, this is not that space.
right.
So I accepted that being a consequence for your behavior. If you're throwing something that ultimately, say for instance, that individual that received that bottle, or even if it was a plastic container, had some sort of health abnormality, boom, you've triggered that.
Yeah, like
For
lactose intolerant.
whatever.
Hmm.
Yuck, 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 yuck. But I mean, if they had some sort of health issue, where if they got hit in the
Oh,
head, then it triggered it or whatever. And that's an extreme scenario, but I'm just saying that's not the place. And the corrective measure is you gotta go at home, and your mother has to deal with you at this point, because you obviously are not getting the home training that you need to know how to conduct yourself in civilized behavior in a public environment. So I don't see anything wrong with what she's talking about.
correct. You
But
throw
the more my point is, sometimes you can look at people. Like I always use my mother's atrocious behavior as a visual learning tool of how not to behave and how not to conduct myself. And right now, I work in customer service. It's a wild. You got to have a special sense of decorum. So every time I get into it with a customer, I ask myself, what's the opposite of how my mother would handle this? And that's how I live my whole life with no record.
That's interesting. Good for you. I did want
Bravo.
to reply to. I wanted to reply to No Saint. I understand where you're coming from, but you sound a little too lenient for like where we come from, right? So we have to be tougher on our people, tougher on our kids because of the country that they live in. Even if something as minute as grammar, right? Because they're going to be judged because of their background and their race and their ethnicity. So that's why we're more serious about our shit than probably you are, or you can even comprehend. We have to be harder on ourselves because of this country where we live, right? It's not a country built for us to succeed and be part of the 1%. It's a capitalist society. They want us to grow up, go to school. And if they can't get us into prison, they want us to join the workforce and shop, right? That's how it's set up here for us. Worse for us, right? So that's why we're harder. So when you do see someone saying your grammar is off or something like that, I know I do it to help people. I don't do it to be like a know-it-all or asshole. I'm like, I always believe in leave things better than you found them. Right. And I think Brother Ish can vouch for that. Like leave things better than you found them. What can you add to this? So I'm not lax either. Call me a grammar Nazi or whatever, but I'm always on point with my people because I feel like they need, more help than a white person, I would say. But if I grew up white, I would probably feel like you. I would probably feel like, what's the big deal? Like, yeah, there's, so what? Like black women are twerking, ass out on stage, like Marilyn Manson wore eyeliner. Yeah, I'd probably feel like you. But it's just those images for us are a lot more detrimental than my
I'll
virus doing for a couple weeks.
I'll be honest. I'm more prone to help a black homeless person than a white homeless person.
You racist.
You call it what you want.
That's not racism. That's preferences, and it
Racist.
could be
I
bigoted.
mean,
It could be bigoted, but he is not
it
systemic.
might
He's
be.
not systemically oppressing anyone. He is
You know
looking
what I mean?
out for his collective.
Can you let him
I
talk about
am.
what he's doing for God's sake?
But yeah, you know what I mean. Look, man. In the scenario of if a black man and or a white man is in trouble, I'm gonna lean towards the black man because that white man, he gonna be all right. No matter what he did, give it a couple of years. The heat will blow over. Everybody will forget it ever happened. Trust me. Everybody forget it ever happened, and that I got to make sure that brother has as many chances as he can have going forward. Granted, if he deserves said chances.
No,
He's
I
a
think
constant
we
fuck
all
up.
do that. It's just relatability. I think we all do that. We would help
I,
someone that we could relate to before anyone else. And you know that joke: if you fucked up your white privilege, that's your problem.
I
well,
mean, that's
I will
just what
say,
it is.
I will say this. I actually am more leaning towards helping a black person or smiling and saying good morning to a black person than a white person, just because I've simply seen black people do that to white people, like help. And also because, not that everybody who's black or Latino had a hard upbringing, but there is kind of that, some white people, listen, white people get on my nerves sometimes. A lot of times.
Dude, what state do you live in?
I'm in the New Orleans area. I live in Louisiana, but
Yeah,
I've been all over.
I gotta say, this is the most thorough, thickened white guilt I've ever heard.
I'm not. First of all, I'm not. It's not white guilt.
It sounds like
It's not. First of all, the only thing I'm guilty of is I was born into a society that I have advantages
here we go.
of.
Oh my God.
Wait, let's hear it. Damn it. Let's be fair.
Here we go.
I've had it. No, I mean, listen, Big Truck. If you don't think that I have certain I don't have advantages just by the way I look, then maybe
How tall are you?
I'm 6 foot.
Yeah, see, that's not an advantage. I'm 6'6".
Right. So you can grab the top shelf better than I can. That's not what I'm talking about, though. I'm talking about first of all, when I've had friends over, and I don't know if I told this on this platform or not. My dad was a band director, and I had some of my friends over, and I don't think I was home yet, and they were two black guys, and they were simply waiting for me to get home, knocking on the door, and the police were called. You know how many times that happened to me in their neighborhood? Let me guess, 0.
Yeah,
Didn't
they put
happen to
you
me
in
at
high
all.
drugs. We've been through this before.
So I realized that there's certain things that I have now. I'm more hard. I'm definitely more hard. And I get where you guys are talking about that you're more likely to, help the black guy, the black homeless guy over the white homeless guy. I get that. I'm just saying I'm a little bit harder on white people than I am on other people. But it's not because I'm guilty, because I really, other than, being born the way, white, and the history that we have in this country, other than that, I've not purposely hurt anybody of any race.
So let me ask you a question, though, Saint. Do you
Okay.
believe that black people should separate from white people to advance?
I think
Well,
black people should separate from black people.
Or do you since I'm presenting this one question first, and then we can go into the deeper dynamics.
I don't think. Okay, this is what I think. I don't think that's a reality. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think it can happen. Now, I think you should do whatever you would like to do. Like, if you want to have, you want to have, and I understand you want to have, you want to have your own political powers and all that. I get that. I just don't think it's in this world. I don't think
it's not
really
going to happen. Just say that. Not
yeah. I don't think it's gonna happen.
Well, hold on. Before Truck, hold on, because I'm asking the question. So the question
he just
is,
doesn't want to say it.
Then again, he's on this panel for a purpose. So let's get up here and grab your cojones and speak your truth. Do you think that black people, African Americans, should separate from white people for their advancement? Do you think that's a viable option?
No.
Not that do you think is it going to happen? I'm not asking you to be a prophet and predict the future. Do you think that's a viable solution as in this dialogue, in this conversation?
I don't know.
Oh my God.
Okay.
That's
I don't know.
impossible. That's like
I
going
don't know.
to Alaska and you're like, I hope I don't run into a bear.
I'm not trying to dodge it. I'm sitting here thinking, okay, listen, this is how.
One of y'all has a mic in the toilet or something. What the hell's going on?
And this is what I mean by that. When I say I don't know, listen, I drive people crazy because I'm always thinking, okay, how's that going to work? I'm always in my head trying to work things out. Like, what would it look like? So when I tell you I don't know, it's just because I don't know if it's a viable option.
Well, Jen, to answer your question that you basically posed about, like, should we separate? The answer really is, can you separate? And the answer to that is pretty much no.
Yes, you can.
First of all, if you even look in these communities, it's like mostly whites living in the suburbs who commute to the urban areas in order to be the teachers, to be the cops, to be the fire people, firefighters, and this, that, and other. That's how it is here in New York City, and that's how it pretty much is in most parts of the country, including California. And the issue is this whole idea about a separatist nation. What's the last guy's name? Nick, I think. What's his name? Nick? What's his name?
No Saint.
Oh, Saint. Something Saint. No Saint. The reality is it's a non-starter. It's not going to happen. So the answer is a simple no. It's not tenable. It's not politically tenable at all. It's not viable. It's not going to happen. There's too much interconnectedness. Now, my thing is,
come back.
I think the integration of the community, I'd actually prefer it go the exact opposite way. I'd prefer it be 100% integrated. See, as far as I'm concerned, especially knowing, just like I started out explaining, how we got the separation of Long Island versus the city, you weren't allowed to move out in Long Island. Like, I have friends who live out in Levittown, and they have clauses in their mortgages from the old days that says, yeah, you're not allowed to sell to blacks. And it says that shit in there. And, they've tried to sweep that under the rug, but it actually says that. My issue is the real racism is that you can actually point out a black community, or that you can actually point out a white community or a Hispanic community. The question that would logically be asked is, why are these people so separated like this? Now, the Jews separate themselves because they want their neighborhoods to be 100% conforming to the religion. So those are de facto segregations. But we came out of de jure segregation. We came out of segregation by law. And that built up these communities. And now that these people have run out of money and their communities are collapsing and they're ending up being forced to move out, and people are being forced to move in by the banks that can actually afford to pay for this, regardless of their skin color, regardless of what race, ethnicity, religion. Now you're seeing real integration. So I wanted to go in the exact opposite direction. The last thing I'm going to say, he mentioned, No Saint mentioned black people in your neighborhood, the cops being called on them. I wanted to point out something. With this Airbnb thing, the Airbnb thing got me thinking, and nobody ever brought this up before. When these people moved into these neighborhoods, they thought that those neighborhoods were 100% segregated. Now they've got friends and family renting out houses in those neighborhoods to people who don't belong in that neighborhood, as far as they're concerned, don't belong there. So now all these people call the cops, and these people are calling somebody because when they see somebody walking down their block that they don't feel belongs there, they can't understand it. But that was the free market economics happening. I want to see the welfare state destroyed. I want to see all of this extra money that is, quote unquote, helping people. I want to see it wiped out, because what I realize is the more money they're able to get their hands on, that's how they maintain their pedestal. The second all of that falls apart, then all of a sudden now you get the rainbow mixture in the bowl. Now all of a sudden you get blacks moving out to Long Island, or you get whites moving into parts of the city they never would have moved in before without gentrification. I want to see the system destroyed. That's what I want to see. Go ahead.
It won't happen. Good idea, but won't happen.
No. You're saying it won't happen. If we run out of money, it will happen.
He's
If
right, because
we
Denzel
run out of money.
Washington always said, welfare discourages hard work.
If
Anarchy, murder, crime.
there's just too much,
Murder's
invested.
a means to an end. Eventually, you
There's
run
just
out
too
of
much
those people.
invested in our degeneracy. There's way too much invested in our degeneracy.
And that's the thing. Somebody just said, "Oh yeah, the community is a sinking ship." No, it's not. They're They're keeping the ship floating. I want to see it sink.
I just said last week, was it, Jen? Like $11 billion a year is made by the Black church.
Yep.
$11 billion. You think somebody's going to walk away from $11 billion just in that sector of the industry alone? You don't think that the Democratic Party is connected to that pool of money, to the amount of influence that happens? You don't think that this has a political stance and a political interest? You know what I mean? You don't think that the real estate market has its hand in ensuring that a certain sect of the city remains impoverished, so people can buy cheap and flip it? This whole shit is, you know what I mean, connected. Now, what Truck is saying, I'm not saying that's a bad idea. Yeah, that's a great idea. I'm just saying that shit's not going to happen. You and I won't be alive to see it happen.
If we run out of money, it'll happen faster than you think.
Now, Jen, you know what I mean? The book I had, I suggested to you, one of the sections. Oh, pardon?
I said, and I bought.
Yes, and you bought that particular book. I don't know if you began to read it, but there's a section that basically hammers the point of anti-intellectualism being such a major component in the culture, and part of the reason why it's such a major component of the culture is that many of our people associate intellectualism, they associate success, academic success, with white culture.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we correct that grammar, no Saint. That's why we correct that grammar.
Got it.
And another problem with that is that this is one of the reasons why Glorilla, and in a sense Cardi B, this is why they're so, you know what I mean, they're so welcomed. And one of the issues that I have is that, well, first of all, both of those girls are a little bit slow. At least Nicki Minaj is intelligent. Not saying that, you know, she's been helpful in any way, but at least she's a woman that can conduct a pleasant conversation, and it's clear that she has her wits about her. Glorilla, I think I saw a brief segment, a brief interview with her, but she didn't even know what a fox was.
No, but listen, you are so on point, because I saw two stories of her circulating. One was she didn't know that ham was pork. The other one was that she didn't know foxes were real. So they're literally promoting her to be some dumb bitch from the ghetto. Like literally, the stories that are circulating about her are she didn't think foxes were real. Who is that? And then the other one was what you said. She didn't know pork was ham. She had no idea. And these are the stories that are going viral about her. So the more dumb she looks, the more popular she becomes.
And there's a strange layer to this.
Taylor Swift to be an idiot.
Well, there's a strange layer to this too, because one of the layers that, and this has been going on for quite some time, and we can date this back to slavery, where it's the house, you know what I mean? I'm just flat out saying the house nigga versus the field nigga. And there's a lot of black people that feel that if white people aren't afraid of you, or if they accept you in any particular manner, or if you behave with any kind of decorum, you're not doing your job. White people have to be, you know what I mean, in constant fear and perpetual, you know what I mean, just hatred and intent to destroy you in order for you to prove that you are authentically black. But it's very strange, because in many ways, a lot of the intelligent black people that I've met they're not ass kissers. You know, they are very solid in their blackness. They are aware of their identities and so on and so forth. They're aware of the importance of building strong communities that are family focused. But it's the ones that are accepted and behaving in a very degenerate fashion, if you notice, they're the ones now that aren't that white people aren't too fearful of. They're in very much fashion, they become a caricature of blackness and very entertaining to, white America. While individuals, most of the individuals on this panel right here, I would contend that, the white power structure would be more so fearful of the people who are capable of, the example of which being the people on this panel.
So I'll say this, since we're about to close, I'll say this. Brother Ish ain't gonna like what I got to say, but here's what I think regarding the topic: should we separate to advance? I think that we, as brown and black people, I think we'll advance further and go further if we separate from the degeneracy in our own community before we even think about separating from white people. I think being in white circles is way more beneficial for us than it is to be around the degenerates that we have to lower the ladder for. That's how I feel about it. I think it's better to separate from the degeneracy in our own culture, which is way more dangerous than some white guy that owns a company and is giving you a janky contract. That's my opinion on that. I know Brother Ish is probably cringing now because I think he thinks it's more useful to help the degenerates than to work with white people. So let's close out, guys. What do you think about, should we separate to advance? Big truck.
I'll go first. Yeah, thanks for the topic. I absolutely.
Who is that? Somebody mute
It's
your mic.
Ish.
Who is that?
It's Ish. He needs to mute his
weird,
mic.
I muted his mic.
No, sir. I am muted. I am very clearly muted.
Right, he's muted. So it's something going on in the background.
Not me.
Okay, go ahead, Big
All
Trick.
right. No, okay. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, again, if you can separate yourself, then you're probably better off doing it, because in the long run, it'll be a hell of a lot less issues for you. It'll be a lot less issues for your family, and it'll be a lot less issues for your property. So my recommendation is, if you can, do so. And the best thing to do is, if you haven't learned anything from these rappers that keep getting themselves killed every other week, don't go back. Thank you.
Joanna? Joanna, what you got?
Go back. I love that.
Back away from the black people. Back away.
So please mute everybody. That way, you don't pick up any of my stuff. But I agree with Jen wholeheartedly. To Brother Ish, we cannot survive as so-called black people in the United States holding down 14% of the population, separated from the other percentages of the population, and survive economically. It's just not going to happen, and it can't happen. But to assume so would be to presume that white people are our problem. I am about the mindset that white people are not our problem, that we are our problem. And so, therefore, my decision, my opinion would always be to separate from the degenerate behaviors within our so-called culture that's harming us. No white person has ever called me the N-word, or a coon, but I get that from people who so-called look like me. I don't, feel fear walking down the street at night from a random white chick, but a group of two or more black chicks walking down the street at night coming from a club, I have some caution. And it's just a whole myriad of other reasons why I would agree that we need to separate from the degenerate amongst the culture, as opposed to, you know, the so-called white race. I just and like I think Big Truck said, we're so intertwined already. My gynecologist is white. My last lawyer was white. One of my favorite teachers in junior high were white. So, this whole, black power thing, I'm not with that. I'm about, seeking your tribe and going with that. And my tribe are people who believe in, allowing people to progress and to live and to prosper. That's my tribe. And who values intelligence, who values hard work and an ethic, who, aren't about trying to take welfare, and who aren't listening to constant degenerative music and twerking and acting a buffoon in public. These are my concerns right now. So thank you, Jim, for the conversation. It's a conversation that need to be had. Thank you all, and good night.
Good night. Thank you, Joanna. Haran, what you say? We leaving? We staying? What we doing, Haran?
Nah, we can't stay. Yeah, we can't. I mean, it's a sinking ship. I mean, you just gotta know when it is what it is. To Joanna's point, first of all, I have many questions when it in regards to just the concept of separating from white America. One of them being, okay, well, how much is that going to cost? Because there's a cost involved. How much is that going to cost financially, and just where is that money going to come from? It's not going to be cheap to separate an entire race of people from a literal system. And what is this going to be? Is this how does this place function? I mean, is this just a little area, like, is it still like a little area on the map called Black America? Like, I
It's
mean, what is
Wakanda.
like? Yeah, I was just about to say, is it like little Wakanda? Like, what is this? Like, what is the vision behind this? I mean, is there a, I mean, what are we going to do in terms of just the basics? I mean, are we still doing business with white-owned electric companies? Are we doing business with, I mean, white-owned real estate, I mean, developers and so on and so forth? I mean, it's just so many variables involved that would have to be in place in order for this to make just a lick of sense. I mean, and it just doesn't seem practical to me. What seems practical is to, yes, to separate from those who continue to disease the brand that is Black America, who continue to attempt to be, not even attempt, but continue to succeed being the face of Black America, that only affects people such as myself and Joanna and so on and so forth negatively, and those on the panel negatively. So yes, we have to learn to separate ourselves from these people, and look, listen, I mean, I've been called a nigger by a white person, what I mean, but I was also 10 years old and I was like kicking out her garden and shit like that. So, what I mean? So it was a horrible word, but it's not like it wasn't provoked. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. What I'm saying is this: we have to, and especially when it comes to black men, we just have to have more brothers who are willing to make the tough decisions, man, and make the hard calls. There's just way too much enabling, and there's just way too much bleeding hearts. Just really tough, cold-blooded decisions need to be made in
Yeah,
order for us to really move forward as a community.
Agree. No Saint, you are the white man on the panel.
Yes, I am.
Thank you for being so bold. What do you think about separation?
So first of all, I want to thank everybody on the panel, including you, Jen. I enjoy coming on here, and when I need to be corrected, you guys correct me, and I listen, and that's why I'm on here. I like learning and saying, well, maybe I'm off there, maybe I should relook the way I thought about that. So I do enjoy everybody on here. Brother Ish there. I want to say to him, like, I thought about what he was real quick. I thought about what he was saying. And all I can say, and I know not everybody's the same, but there are countries that wall themselves off that have, no, as far as no other races or whatever there, and they tend to find there's always a power dynamic. There's always someone on top, someone on bottom, and I don't know if that would benefit or not. And I'm not sure if that's where I'd love to talk to you, Ish, about this, some other time. I don't want to take up too much time. I think from what I'm hearing from Big Truck and everybody is that it sounds like that if you work and, you become successful, then you end up separating yourself no matter what. Now whether you should, so I don't know what else to say about this, because I understand what everybody's saying, and I'm certainly, as far as like Jen, you made a great point, like you're more sensitive because so I just want to say thanks to everybody. I don't know, I don't want to intrude anymore on whether I think Black people should separate from what they're talking about, degenerates, but I totally appreciate it.
Thank you, No Saints. Brother Ish.
Nah, man, we need you, white man.
I don't mind No Saint up here. I don't mind No Saint up here at all. I usually DM him. Don't I DM you? Like, what are you doing?
Correct.
Yeah, I don't mind No Saint up here at all. We're just all talking about our experiences, and of course, we know more about our experiences than he knows. So of course, we're going to. You know what I mean? If I wanna know about fucking sheep, I'll hit up No Saint. But
there you go.
Salute No Saint. He's a trooper. Brother Ish, are you there? Going once, going twice. Are you gonna tell me?
I am here. No, I'm here. I'm here.
Okay, what you got so we could close?
So I'll close on a couple of points. We'll start here. When you say that no white people called you nigga, I would say this, and that it was Black people calling you nigga. This was a word that was created by white people as a description of us, and it was a product based upon how we were developed and conditioned as far as a behavior. So that is a byproduct, not necessarily actually the product. So we have to be mindful of that dynamic. When we say that there are no, that your gynecologist is, and I'm not directing this personally towards you, but I'm expanding a process of thinking. There are no good Black gynecologists that exist, and you may find one or two or three or four or 100, but it's to set the tone of saying that I can't trust a good Black gynecologist, and that's the implication. It's not what you said, but that's the implication, that if we had our own society, we had our own plot of land and our own area of this planet, that there wouldn't be good Black gynecologists there to service you. It's something that lends to the aspect of the effect of white supremacy. Now, where are the separated societies that exist? Indian reservations, prime example. Or we can even talk about Israel. Israel's a great example of that. Israel did not exist prior to 1967 when a war took place. And with that, they're receiving, and on the financing side, in answer to Haran, they're receiving 150 billion US dollars to sustain that government and being in existence. That's where the dollars would come from. The reparations that are owed to us from the different countries that profited off of slavery would then have to fund this new country. Now you say, well, this is not going to happen, but it's happening for Israel. And it happened for Israel over what took place in Germany. So there is a viability that's there, and there is a case that is there. So, and Israel was not founded on a peaceful awarding of land. It was actually founded because of terrorist activity when they blew up a British embassy. So we won't go. I won't dive too deep into the weeds, but I'm just giving us living examples in this dispensation time where these opportunities and situations could exist. So yes, I believe in separation. I believe we should separate. I agree with Jen. We should separate the degeneracy that exists within our community, and either you come towards this corrective behavior or you die upon this degeneracy, which is a self-destructive lifestyle. So Jen and I are in alignment when it comes to that. We just believe that as a nation, we have a responsibility of trying to provide a pathway of getting out of degeneracy. That's the only difference where we separate. Beyond all that, I thank everybody for their opinion. I respect everybody's opinion, and there's always a room open for you in the local mosque in your town. Assalamu alaikum.
Jen? Jen.
Except for you, No Saint. Sorry.
Yeah. I hear you. Jen,
bean pies.
I just want to say something to Ish before he leaves.
Please, good.
Yeah, so I get what you're saying as far as Israel. The problem is that Israel, the reason there's $150 billion pumped into Israel a year is not because we like Israel necessarily. It's because they're in the Middle East and they're a influence in that sphere that's so important because all the resources there. So I get what you're saying about, you're right. I mean, I know about the different insurance companies and banks that had profited. So the thing is getting people to agree that, okay, this new nation is going to be beneficial to this country's interest, whether it's right or wrong. I'm just putting that out there.
And to back up
Well,
his point, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Before Israel was a strategic advantage for the United States, it was awarded this opportunity based upon its war in 1967. So it wasn't that the U.S.
49.
was initially going to stay, or
49.
40. Excuse me.
The point here, the point here,
67 was
that's
a
being
decisive
missed.
battle.
Correct.
Let's go chaos. Let's go.
The point here that's being missed is that there is an interest in the survival of Israel because it benefits America. And there's a consequence of not helping them. There's no consequence attached in not helping Black people with reparations. Like, what's going to happen if they don't give it up? Like, what's going to happen?
The stocks go up because we're just going to buy everything. Oh, I mean to say that out loud. My bad.
Don't think for a second that power doesn't move without thinking about its own interests. That's how it stays in power. Now,
I absolutely agree.
Now, what I'm saying here is that the interest that that power has is already being met with Black people remaining in the space that they're already in.
Good point.
So why would they invest outside of that?
Man, this is
what
Black
people
people
that point
do.
Because I missed that point.
What I'm saying is that all the interests that power is benefiting from, the white power elite is benefiting from, they are receiving that with Black people being in the space that they're in. They're profiting already by us just being in the space that they're in. Why would they provide reparations? What is the practical purpose of that? And what is the consequence if they don't?
That's a lose-lose.
Can someone articulate this?
That's a lose-lose. That's a great
point. I mean, I believe the consequence in a hypothetical scenario, I believe the consequence is, you know, the things that the tools that we've been provided in the past. We establish a terms of separation. If we have a larger collective that says, okay, let's take an example. We take the Million Man March. We have the 2 million plus individuals that say, you know what, we want to opt out, and they say, we're sorry, we're not gonna provide you reparations, and we're not gonna allow you to opt out. We're not gonna provide you any land. We're not gonna fund the development of this country, and that's it. Well, then you can have social upheaval. That's your option. And then we see kind of
but there
conversation
won't
we
be
have because social upheaval. Well, I
How?
mean,
Listen,
They
again,
have
if you
nukes.
have a strong collective that is a united front in this position, is my point. I'm not saying that you know, like in this time period here and in this moment in time and space, it doesn't look practical. But if you have a greater, larger collective body of people who take this position and say, you know what, if we don't get this on these terms, then you got a problem.
But that's like saying,
Ultimately,
but that's like saying, if I had wings, I could fly to New
right?
York.
That
no,
is
it's
literally
not,
like
Jen,
that.
because I mean that's
Like
because
it's never.
again, utilizing Israel as an example, you had Jews who
But
said, you know what, we want our promised land.
Black
And
people are not Jewish. Stop comparing apples to
I
oranges.
understand, no, but I'm giving, no,
Black
we're
people,
not. But what I'm
black people, they're two different types of black people. Let's be clear. It's not a collective. Like black people, what they do is they celebrate, applaud, defend degeneracy. The Jewish people are
niggas
not.
do. I'm not
They
talking about
didn't
black
move
people.
like that. They didn't move like that. You still are in a system where you got to pull people out the gutter, right, to be on the same level as you. And then when they're out the gutter and on the same level as you use them to make you more money. You don't even build them up to be soldiers to go to this war and make them the repercussion if they don't get reparations. So if it sounds crazy, it sounds like when Jesus comes back, right? If I had wings, I could fly to California or New York. Like if we had a collective of people that were armed, we could. You pose no threat to America. You pose no threat to the people you want reparations from. You don't pose a little threat. Matter of fact, they wouldn't even destroy you with the fucking army. They just send out the fucking National Guard. It's easy work, light work. Light work. So what do you mean? What is this? If do you have the military power, or do you benefit, like Haran said, do you benefit collectively another country? Why they should put you somewhere else and give you reparations? What do you represent? The only fucking thing that's gonna happen, let's keep it 100, is you're gonna go running like droves to Louis Vuitton, Gucci, Prada, the Mercedes-Benz dealer. That's what's gonna happen with reparations. No one's gonna
But
build
reparations is not. Hold on, reparations. The plan for
build a
reparations is
fund.
not just tossing a check. Hold on, Jen. The plan for reparations is not just tossing, a 50 or 100 or $1 million check into somebody's hand. The plan for reparations is about educational facilities, about land. It's about ownership. It's not about giving an individual land, but setting up a collective a body of land for us, creating an infrastructure. That's what reparations is about. It's not just about giving you a lottery check.
I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. What I'm saying is it doesn't matter if it came in the form of coins, shekels, or cookies. The black community that I'm talking about will find a way to sell that land to buy a Mercedes-Benz. What is this collective in your mind that exists, this Wakandian utopia paradise where black people are all on one accord and they all want land, 40 acres and a mule? When the majority want fucking diamonds, Mercedes-Benzes, Louis Vuitton, Gucci, Prada. That is what you're fighting against. You're not fighting against, you won't give me reparations. You're fighting against a community that doesn't give a fuck about what you're talking about. That's the bigger fight. It's not the people not giving you the reparations. The bigger fight is black people who embrace degeneracy. That demographic is your problem, not white people that won't give you the reparations, whether it comes in coins, cookies, land, or whatever. That's your biggest issue. It's like even what you told Joanna, well, you know, the word nigger came as you're still blaming the white person. It doesn't matter who started the word nigger. The point is that we use that word now. Remember, we claimed it. It's ours. That's why we use it in hip hop. Don't matter where it started. You know not to put your hand on a burner. Why? Because you're going to burn your hand. That word is derogatory, right? It's a bad thing. Yet we still use it to insult each other. So what are you blaming the white guy again for the word nigga? Who cares where it started? Do you use it in a derogatory fashion? That's the question, not where it came from.
No, I understand it, but I was responding to a specific point about the statement that no white man has called me nigger, but you got to understand the consequence. The white man created the nigger. So that is a product based upon his mind and his thinking. And until we divorce ourselves from his mind and his thinking, then can we turn around and create our own society and our own form of civilization. So yes, I agree with, hold on, Jen, let me finish. I agree. We are steeped in degeneracy. I agree. And that is the purpose of what this organization, and I'm not on this panel to propagate my faith, but if you're asking a question, I'm going to give you an example. The purpose of this organization is to go in and attack that degeneracy like it's a virus, separate those who want to create a better life and live a better life, present them an alternative, turn those people into being productive citizens in society, and then establish our own society based upon the premise of that philosophy. So that is the principle that works. Now, if it's a small number, if it's a large number, say for instance, there's only 100,000 that walk with this thought process and says, okay, this 100,000 wants separate land, wants to receive reparations, and the government says, okay, that's not a big deal. We can afford to do that, and they go on ahead and do that. That is the start for a new form and a new civilization of people that we believe can exist. And then again, to move into this so-called Wakanda, there are terms. You cannot come in here smoking crack. You cannot come in here shooting up heroin. You cannot come in here with alcohol. There is a certain decorum and lifestyle you have to justify.
Okay, so it just sounds to me like you want to do what I'm talking about, or like what Kanye said with the domes. Like,
I keep saying that.
People, wait a minute. You just want white people to help you get a little state for the black people that don't do drugs. That's what it sounds like to me. Is that what you're talking about? That's what it sounds like?
No, I'm not saying. No, I'm not saying that we want them to help us. No, what we're saying is since you reap the benefits and built this civilization off of the backs of our free labor, there is a debt that you owe. Once you and what your job, what your responsibility is, and many different groups of people have received reparations under the same premise, is that we will be
Stop
provided.
talking about what other people who are beneficial to countries got. Stop talking about that. How are black people beneficial to foreign countries or even this country aside from shopping all fucking day? Stop talking about what Israel did and the Jewish people. Stop it. Just stop it. Stop it. How are black people beneficial to other countries? If I was another country, if I was in charge of reparations, why the fuck am I giving y'all reparations? For what? What are y'all gonna do? That's how I would be. If I was a country and what the fuck y'all gonna do about it? What are y'all gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do? You gonna pull up in your bed? What are you gonna do? I want to get down to just very simply, right? It sounds to me like you want this utopia, this Wakanda, right? And if it happens, right? Hypothetically, you're gonna make sure that degenerates don't get in, right? You could do that now. Get wealthy and move to fucking Calabasas. You don't need to join 100,000 black people in a million man march. You could get away from the degenerates now, because it sounds to me like that's all you want. Like you want this 100,000 people.
Well, ultimately, that is being done.
You could do that without reparations. People do it every day.
It is being done now. It is being done now.
You could do that now. You don't need reparations for that. Like there's people doing it right now.
We don't need. No, I agree. I agree. We don't need reparations to do that. We are old reparations, but we are doing that. In the state of Georgia, there's already communities that are being built that are independent, that are in development with that same premise and philosophy.
Well, that's great. I mean, but they're not totally independent. You're still in a white state. Like it's not. I mean, is the state black owned?
Absolutely, but as far as as far as building independent communities that are focused in on the self development of civilized conduct and behavior and building out communities like that, that is in practice. And if you go to Brother Ben X's page, he can direct you towards those programs.
Yeah, well, that's fine. I mean, it just sounds. You have to understand though that it sounds hella unrealistic because you don't have the military power. There's no consequence and there's no benefit. So it's a lose-lose. There's no consequence if reparations aren't divvied out, whether they're in shekels, coins, or land. There's no consequence and there's no benefit. You have nothing to wager. You have no fucking leverage. You don't even have anything to fucking trade. So it sounds asinine that you're saying, well, what's owed us? What are you going to do if you don't get it? That's the question you should be asking. Because that's what.
So let me say this.
What are you going to do if you don't get it?
So again.
Isn't that Power 101? Am I bugging?
No,
Isn't
no,
that Power
I agree with you.
They're poking you in the shoulder and now in the forehead. What are you going to do if you don't get it?
Let me say this. Let me say this. In answer to your specific question, there are, because I'm speaking in a manner beyond my authority to say certain things, but social upheaval is the option.
The what?
And it doesn't take social upheaval, and it doesn't take a large construct of people to do it. And again, guerrilla warfare can defeat many armies. So it's not about always painting a picture of having an army to battle another army, because that's not always the reality. But many times, many groups have been successful with small numbers of people and through the tactics of guerrilla warfare.
All they got to do is send a surface-to-air missile into a fucking projects, and the fight is over. I guarantee you.
It didn't happen. It didn't happen for Vietnam. It didn't happen for
okay,
Vietnam.
Yeah, for Vietnam.
It didn't happen for
it didn't happen for South Korea. You ain't named a black nation yet. You ain't named a black area yet, though. You ain't in one black area yet.
Them people too, like when you talk about Vietnam, I mean, that's all they know. Right? War is all they know. Fighting is all they know. They're living in poverty. You talking about motherfuckers who can talk about fucking Coke bottles and make $1 million overnight. Black people are not desperate in this country. They're comfortable. They're comfortable. That's why nobody stood with Kaepernick. If they stood with him for a couple months, they went right back to watching football. We comfortable here. That's why nobody's going to stop. No one of color, no black or brown person is going to stop watching basketball because Kyrie got fined a couple $100,000.
How many more months do you think that Kyrie shit got in it? How many more months of steam do you think that Kyrie shit got in it?
Months? Days. Days. Soon as he gets back on the court, everyone's going to forget how evil the Jewish people are. So you're talking about a community and a people who aren't, you comparing black people in America to Vietnam? To Vietnam?
Wait, who said that?
Yeah,
I'm my comparison to the Vietnamese was in the warfare tactics, not into the people, and that was my point.
But the problem with that,
the Vietnamese was not an entire collective of everybody that was involved. It was more so an infrastructure of different groups or a different group that was going against the structure of that country. So it wasn't like all the people. It wasn't like the entire.
And hungry. Were they at the Mercedes-Benz dealership? Were they running around with gold chains and diamonds? Were they making $1 million on YouTube? Did they have those opportunities? Because a desperate people is gonna fight for their life. They don't give a fuck. But how you compare, people are comfortable here. I don't think you realize how comfortable people are here, where they don't even do the easy shit. No one's even asking you to bleed when you boycott the NBA to football. They're not even asking you to bleed. All they ask you to tell you to say turn off the TV. No one's even doing that. And you think that people are gonna strap up and do this guerrilla warfare for reparations in this country?
It doesn't, Jen, it doesn't have to be masses of people. It just has to be a strong, small collective of people that do it. That's it. And then those that reap the benefits of that action.
I totally understand that, Ish, but you're talking about a small collective of people. As you talk, the collective gets smaller and smaller and smaller. All they got to do is send out the night shift of the National Guard.
They don't send out the Navy. They don't send out the.
I mean, it's not. You know what I mean? Like it's like.
But we all have the wrong strategy, right? If we can't beat them with force, the thing is, you do what everybody else did. You beat them with economics.
It's pretty
It's
much
that
it.
simple. It's that simple. It's not that difficult of a strategy. I said everybody can chip in for a bank. You only need $5,000 for a bank.
Let me tell
You
you
know what
something.
the Asians did? You know what the Asians did? They literally hog-tied their children to their classroom desks, and they made sure that they were unbelievably prepared for whatever educational task lied ahead. And they kept their kids, you know what I mean, on a very strict line. There was an understanding of tradition, so on and so forth, and they were strict. They were not lenient, and over a number of generations, they were able to take over so many industries, man.
This
Black
is
people
funny.
are too
This is
lazy in so many areas.
This comment right here is hilarious because I spoke to Brother Ish about this too. Donovan says warfare. These guys are doing TikTok videos. Wrong
Absolutely.
generation. I agree 110.
Yeah, but if you look at the standard of the degenerates that are being eclipsed, that does
You
not
might have
mean
got
that
some
that's
steam out of the kids
entire
from the
reflection of
90s.
the populace of the people.
What you said, Brother Ish? I didn't hear you. The what? I didn't hear what you said.
I said because we're highlighting the aspects of the degenerates that are being promoted to the populace does not mean that there's an infrastructure of people that exist that be willing to make that challenge and that change. Again, there are many different groups and entities that exist under this ideology. So within that dynamic.
Let me correct you. I'm not even talking about the degenerates now. I'm talking about just regular Black men who work, who are nice, and they all on TikTok. Ain't nobody thinking about, let me get my reparations, let me start a war. You're comfortable. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not even talking about the degenerates.
Right, the comfortable passive house Negro. That's not an example. It's the dissatisfied that brings about change.
They don't even have to be passive. They could just be comfortable. They could just be in a world where they go to work, they make their money, they do their TikTok videos, their wives are happy, their kids are happy. They're comfortable. They don't see a need for these reparations. I'm talking about people that are just comfortable. That's what I'm talking about. As far as like what's going to happen, the reason why I compare it to Jesus is coming back is because what decade is this uprising going to happen for these reparations? Because Farrakhan is 1 foot, like my grandmother used to say, 1 foot over here and 1 foot over there, right? He's not going to last another 30 years. So what generation is this reparations, this guerrilla warfare? Is it going to be like his son? Is it going to be his grandson? Is it going to be his son after that? You get where I'm going, where it's like Jesus is coming back. When, Grandma? Your mother told you that. And her mother told you that. And her mother, we're still waiting on Jesus. So similarly, we waiting on that green light from the NOI to, it's like, now time for guerrilla warfare for them reparations. It just sounds silly, but that's what religion does. And that's why I'm a motherfucking atheist to the core. But that's what religion does. It gives you this fucking false hope. So I keep telling you, we're gonna fight for those reparations, but I got you in the interim selling shit to keep me in my ivory tower. And that is the fucking truth. All I got to do is keep telling you hope, giving you hope. Like one day there's gonna be an uprising for these reparations. Meanwhile, these TikTok kids are making millions of dollars. Millions of dollars on TikTok. That is why we're comfortable. That is why we're comfortable.
So I have a question, a real question. Brother Ish, I know the NOI gets millions to maybe billions of dollars. How come they don't just open a bank?
We do have a bank. And we
Okay, I
do
need a
have,
loan right now.
and we have money, and we have money in a black bank. But we also have a black fund that's set up for establishing a larger network of black banks. That is one of the basic founding principles of the Nation of Islam.
So why don't we just start buying stuff?
We do. There's land
Just
that's being bought. There's land there's land and there's farms and there's homes and communities that are being bought. If you go to Brother Ben X's page, he promotes a lot of that information.
so if we have this, why is that not being promoted?
I mean, if you buy the final call, that's where you find all the information. We do a
Also, I
self
gotta
promotion.
buy
We have our
something?
own. No,
Not
no, 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 no. You don't have to buy some. You can go to noi.org. You can find out all that kind of information of the different things, programs, entities, information that exists out there.
I
The
think what
final call
Tristan is
newspaper,
saying is that
which is only $2. So I don't think it'll break your bank if you want to be up to date on information on things that are being done that are out there. And it's not just only promoting what the nation is doing, but those with like minds. It's also those organizations that are doing that. I don't know who's got the dog, but we
That's
got
I think
some
mine.
youth.
I think what Tristan is saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, Tristan. I guess what he's saying is that why isn't that point heavily promoted, like really heavily promoted, maybe on social media, maybe just on a broader scale. You know what I mean? I don't think that it should be assumed that everyone is going to purchase the final call and find that bit of information in there. It just sounds like a very important component that needs to be brought to the community, and it just needs to be spread.
Yeah, that's a
It
that,
is, I mean, it is. We are promoting it. Like I said, I'm just naming one individual, but a lot of even the members of the Nation of Islam promote on their social media. Those different programs and situations that exist out there. So but we're not relying upon social media. Was my point. And if you want to kind of get direct information, you can always go to the source. Is my point. We have our own website. We have our own news and publication. So that's where, if you want to go to source, I'm providing you source. But yes, other believers and members of the Nation of Islam promote that.
so okay, so right now where I work at, I work in, I guess, the banking industry. From where I stand, there have been thousands of small banks that have been bought out. If you guys have the money, just start buying branches. I'm just saying, this can easily be flipped over within 7 years.
On that dynamic, I know that there is a program that's set up for that. That's, I know that specific banks have been earmarked. I don't know all the nuances, but they are black owned banks.
Yeah, no, no,
Being
no, 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 no. I'm saying like this, right? Was it Washington Mutual and Wachovia that went down? You guys could have bought that. I'm talking about you. You can just buy up the failing banks. I said this can easily
No,
be
I
resolved.
got you. I'm saying that there's already black banks that the nation is already have a relationship with, that are institutions that are already in place. Not and I agree with you about the buying of Wachovia and all those. And again, I'm not involved in that dynamic, but I know that there are black banks that the nation has put all their monies into, and entities that are black owned, black operated, black controlled, that are on the page of what we're looking to do.
All right, all right. I'm gonna give him 3 more years.
Don't hold your breath.
Oh, you know my stance. I told you. I told the black community. Let me know what y'all doing, and I'll be right there. Until then, don't call me.
I would say, anything that gets men and women off the street and from being degenerates, it's a beautiful thing. It's a good thing. It's a positive thing. I do not think, I will never think that the answer for any black and brown people is religion. Ever. I will never, ever, ever. Because the problem with when we do religion, it's always some motherfucker on top who's rich and the minions.
Yep.
Every single fucking time. They don't make other leaders, they make minions, followers, and workers. And that's the problem with the Black church
And Jen,
with the Latin church. So it's the answer is not religion. The answer is not Jesus or Muhammad.
Shout out to the Pope.
Not the answer. That is not the answer. Religion is not the answer. And I think if not for religion, you'd get a lot more Black and brown people to join a movement. But I think they get scared off with that religious shit because there's nothing but hypocrites in the religion, including the motherfucker on top. That's the problem with religion. So you're always going to have people question, why the fuck are y'all broke and that motherfucker rich? Why the fuck are we? That's a natural human, you know, response. Why the fuck that motherfucker's in a mansion and I'm out here selling, you know what I mean? And then the people that you do convince to do the work, right? They don't turn out to be soldiers. They're workers. They're worker bees. That's the problem with religion. So if there was an organization that didn't have religion attached, I think you'd stand a better chance. Just my opinion. Otherwise, you just have a bunch of minions and followers that are running around spreading the word to try to recruit more people.
Let me ask you a question, Jen, and I hear you on that point, but let me ask you a question. In a community of people, in just a raw community of people, you have a government who's responsible for managing the populace. You have a law enforcement, which is the police and the judicial system. What system do you have in place that is the component for developing and honing the moral development of the people, or having a moral standard for that people?
I'll answer like this. If the way to give another person morals is via a God, right? That person is not really moral. I am sorry, Brother Ish, but I know people from the NOI to Christianity to Catholics, they're all fucked up. So this narrative of they're moral. The Catholic faith is the biggest pedophile database on the planet. The NOI are pushing bean pies and final calls for the ones on top, the Farrakhan's, right? Christianity, the mega church leaders, Tristan put his picture up a little bit ago, the bishop, whatever the fuck, they're all about money. So it makes me laugh when someone tells me, well, how else are we going to teach morals? All the motherfuckers might as well be in the street. They use the name Muhammad. They use the name Christian. They use the name Catholic. They're all cheaters, liars, fucking robbers, fucking around, adulterers, all of them. The whole fucking lot of them. They just get to act a certain way when they congregate, but they're all fucked up. Every religious person that I've met is fucked up. Matter of fact, the most intelligent and grounded people I met have been fucking atheists. Because they don't answer to, well, you know, I'll get judged later, so I can fuck off here. I think if you remove religion from an organization, you have a better chance at leading people. And we went over this before, Brother Ish. I don't need a God to teach morals. I don't need a God for that. I don't need a
So let me say this.
I don't need a pope. To me, that's weak. I have to put the fear of Muhammad in you, or the fear of Jesus in you, or the fear of Pope John. I don't have to do that. Am I an idiot? That's the only way I can
let me
teach
say
morals.
this. Let me respond to that. Let me respond to that. If you have individuals who don't know the difference between ham or pork, who have no foundational training as far as any kind of domestic development in relationship to good parenting, to righteous and positive lifestyle, I believe there has to be institutions in place that are responsible for setting a moral compass. Now, I agree with you that a great many of, I would say 95 to 98% of all religious institutions have been corrupted and are vile and have violated based upon their historical record. I agree with you. But I'm not saying. I'm
100%.
still saying
100%. Unless you're a monk up in some mountain, 100%.
if I was to say,
Religions in this
100%,
country are
then
corrupt.
then I would.
100% of the
Okay.
religions in this country are corrupt. 100%. Of course, you're gonna say not the NOI. If I had a Christian up here, if E Black was up here, he would say not Christianity. If I had a Catholic up here, he would say not the Catholics. You're supposed to say that. You're devout. You're
Okay,
supposed
regardless
doctrine.
of whatever. Okay. So then let's keep
You're
that on the
supposed to say,
table.
as a matter of fact, if you didn't say that,
Let's keep. I mean, it would be ridiculous for me to say, Jen,
if
I'm
you
not
didn't
arguing the
say
point
that,
with
you
you.
could not be down with them. You know that.
Jen,
I
I'm
know.
not arguing the point with you. I'm not arguing the point. It'd be ridiculous for me to say that as a member of a faith-based organization that I would say that I believe the organization I'm a part of is corrupt. That would be I would be a hypocrite in that dynamic. So I don't believe that. I don't see it. But I do believe that there are corrupt individuals within it. Yes, every organization, every group has some form of corruption that exists within it. Do I have trust and faith and belief in the Minister Farrakhan and his leadership? That's why I'm there.
Yeah, just like the Catholics believe in Pope and the Christians believe in Jesus. That's y'all gotta believe in somebody at the top. You must.
It's not that I have to believe in somebody. I am in agreement with it. I agree with the methodology.
You have to be in agreement if you want the perks. You have to be in agreement.
Beyond
you don't have
perks,
a choice.
No, you have choice.
You don't have, not if you want to be in that organization. You have no choice. You cannot question.
But you don't have to be in the organization. It's a choice.
You cannot question. If you question, you get ostracized and possibly shot. You cannot question.
Not at all.
You cannot question. You will get ostracized.
Not
you will get ostracized. You must.
There's a great deal of questioning that goes on. The minister was questioned when he introduced the situation with Scientology. The believers questioned him. He had and it's on YouTube. You can find it where he argues his case in front of the believers. It's there. So it's not something that we as a body of people, if we as believers in the Nation of Islam said, you know what, we don't agree with what you're doing, the membership would drop down, the charity would drop down, and that's the reality that exists in that environment. I've seen it happen under other leadership that attempted to go a different direction, and the membership dropped down, and the finances dropped down. That's where the power is. And that's where a lot of times the power dynamic, a lot of people do not understand that it's governed by the body of the people. Now, we don't believe in a mystery God. We don't believe in some ghost in the sky that's stepping in and changing the conditions of your life. We believe in a humanist type of theology, which means that enlightened individuals grew into an understanding and are guiding people, just like Buddhists. It's the same premise of thought. But again, we don't believe in some Wizard of Oz dropping out of the sky and saying, okay, this is going to change your condition. Everything is built around human beings. Everything. So it's not even about there being some special information. It's from individuals that have been an example of proper social conduct behavior and have an ideology of proper social conduct behavior. So that's what I bought into. I've not bought into, I'm going to be getting some sort of life when I die. I don't believe in that.
Well, you couldn't stand on your own square and do that without a religion? Is that what you're saying? Because that's what I just said.
No,
what I'm saying
is, I agree with the teachings of Elijah Muhammad when it comes down to how to approach it. Why? Because holistically, as a culture and as a people, we are empty. We're vacuous. So with outside of American society, if you just took Black people and said, who are you outside of this? We could not say this is what we are. So from that, I looked at Elijah Muhammad's teachings. I looked at his philosophies in relationship to politics. I looked at his philosophies into social infrastructure. I looked to his philosophies in how
I'm not empty, and I'm not attached to religion. I'm not empty.
you are not attached to your Taino ancestry.
Right, but I'm not empty.
You have you don't speak its language, you don't practice its beliefs or traditions or
I don't.
cultures, and
Absolutely not.
you don't. So again, what you have inside of you is based upon white supremacy, around
Right,
colonial
wait. What do you mean what
ideology.
I have inside of me? What do I have inside of me?
Your
I know
practices,
if I want
your
to, wait
perspective,
a minute,
and your social dynamics.
no, let's explore. I know if I want to
Let's
pay bills,
explore.
I have to work. I know that I can't lie, cheat, or steal, right? Because that'll end me up in prison. So what's inside of me? What is this? What's inside of me? What white people are inside of me, or what did the white man do that's inside of me to this day?
Pause.
I know, right? I'm like, I don't.
but that's not a gay term. She's not saying anything inside of me that's
No, I'm
gay.
just saying it just sounded like she's saying what white guy got inside of me, and it was like, whoa, okay.
So what? I'll wrap it up
It
like
felt
this.
like a setup. It felt like a
It
setup.
really did. It did feel like a setup. So I was
It
like,
did. It did. I hear that.
I'll wrap it up like this. My point was, I'll wrap it up like this. My point was that you do not need a religious leader to teach everything you just said. You do not. You do not need a religious leader to do everything you said. And you do not need to put minions on the street selling shit to maintain that religion.
can I ask
I
a
would say
question?
that I believe you need. I would just say in response to that. And let me just
really
in 2 words.
I'm gonna mute your mic really quick because it's late. I'm gonna mute your mic really quickly. One person could go into the ghetto and recruit 100 kids and teach them all kinds of shit from A to Z, right? These kids don't have shit. They don't have shit. They could go in there out the kindness of their heart, teach them shit from A to Z, how to walk and talk and write and read, teach them that foxes are real, teach them that ham is pork, right? I don't have to put 100 of those kids. I do not have to put 100 of those kids on the street to sell t-shirts with my picture on it to maintain, right? To maintain me. I don't have to do that. I could do that without
I
a religion.
agree, but having
I'm gonna mute you again so I could finish. I can do that without them selling a motherfucking thing. I could teach them order. Okay. I could teach them discipline. And they don't have to be on the street selling shit for me while I sit in an ivory tower, a mansion, as a matter of fact. Just don't. I don't have to do that. And seeing as religion is getting more and more diminished every single day, the atheist population is growing. People are laughing at religious leaders at this point. They're all fucking jokes. I think that it's going to get worse and worse and worse for not only the NOI, but Christianity and for the Catholics. Shit's not working anymore. Shit's not working anymore. And I'm sure they're all in a panic. How the fuck are we going to keep these minions together? Well, let's promise them reparations one day. We'll just keep telling them that every fucking year. Because now you're going to get more and more desperate to keep these people in line to keep the money coming in. That's what's going to happen with religion. You can answer. Brother Ish, you can answer.
There's a need to have, anytime that you have an ideology, to have it supported by an organized body of individuals and having institutions where people can go that they say they want to go and support this, they want to be a part of this, they want to have a system in place to create a new type of scenario. That is the intention of the nation, and that's why you have this entity. But it also has a moral component, because I believe that anytime you want to construct or reconstruct a new civilized society, you have to have a moral line of what is acceptable in the society and what is not acceptable in the society. And many people come from a very diverse background without any foundation of who and what they are. So now this is an agreed ideology of saying, this is acceptable here, this is not acceptable here. And that's the foundational point of what the purpose of the Nation of Islam is. So that's and to have an economic system that's established, to have somebody that's learning commerce, business, and finance to go out there and sell. And it's not just go sell this and bring back all the money. No, invest in yourself and build this into an economic foundation, and then establish a business of your own. There are many entrepreneurs within the nation. That is the intention. It is
who
always
makes more
about
money?
do for self.
Who makes more money, the minions or the people at the top, which are on the street? This is a general question. Who makes more money?
Anybody that's on a higher level of growth or has tenure and has establishment is going to make money, but you don't make money off the nation like that.
Like the
You have
Jewish?
individuals who can't.
Like the Jewish?
Not,
like the Jewish, right? What did you say? Run that back. Any people that what? Have what?
Tenure. Tenure.
And
Jews don't have tenure in the Black community. Jews have been predatory on the Black community.
But they have tenure, right? Where they are.
Tenure in
now,
what?
If you want to go work with them, I mean, that's on you, is it not?
Absolutely. I mean, it could be on us to even say, okay, you do these goods over here, we do these goods over here, we'll do economic trade. But to now turn around and say that you're going to control our finances, or you're going to be influential in managing how our individuals who are being guided by you are and control their voices, then that's a problem. That's an undue influence on the individuals and the community. So anytime somebody says, okay,
that's where we differ, because I don't see a problem with it. I think the boss is the boss.
So you don't see a problem with predatory behavior?
Absolutely. Listen, 100,000,000%. I see no problem with the fucking boss doing what he wants. I don't care if it's a boss at McDonald's. I don't care if it's the boss at Def Jam Records, if it's still around. I don't care. The same way you don't care about all the money at top of the NOI. The same way you don't care, the way you don't see anything wrong with it, because they have to maintain and they have tenure. The same way you don't care is the same way I don't care. The boss is the boss. Black, white, green, or purple. If you want the boss perk, be the motherfucking boss. So no, I see no problem with it. Kyrie is part of an establishment where he is not the boss. Kanye West was part of an establishment where he is not the boss. You want to be the boss? Then be the fucking boss.
I have a question,
I
Brother
agree with
Ish.
you on that. I agree with that.
I don't see
Brother Ish, I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
Do you think that the Black man and the Black woman, do you think that their natural free will has been compromised by the white community?
No, Haran, you can't have your white woman.
But not.
Yes, I believe that in the perpetual ignorance that is existing within the Black community, based upon being undereducated by our institutions and not being controlled by our own, that we are people in position that we make poor decisions based upon our lack of knowledge.
No, wait a minute. No, what I'm saying. So you truly believe that our ability to choose has been compromised?
He believes Black people are weak. He believes Black people are weak as fuck and impressionable as fuck.
I believe. Hold on. Let me answer.
They're generationally weak as fuck and impressionable as fuck. Does that sum it up? Weak as fuck and impressionable as fuck. And it's generational. Every generation that comes, even though we're going into 2023, all the women that are giving birth now to Black kids, they're going to be impressionable and weak as fuck because the white man enslaved us 500 years ago.
It sounds like Jen's hungry.
It sounds like
Jen
reached her 2-hour mark.
Yeah, she sounds like she's hungry.
We reached it. She's turning into a gremlin at this point.
I fucking am.
Jen, I'd like to say, so what I heard Ish talk about, he was talking about like settlements down in Georgia, farmland. I know of a few. Dr. York with the Nubians, which was very cultish like, and he's in jail, and a lot of I know the HOI, House of Israel's down there. Also, anytime you have a group coming from that, I was in a cult, and you have someone that's top down, it always opens up to corruption. The same problems you have out in the real world: corruption. You have Jim Jones bringing people down to Guyana and a mass suicide. So these kumbaya, let's start our own communities, opens up to lack of supervision from law, and a lot of times it's corrupt. And every one of them has to have like a lead. It's almost like you have to have a daddy tell you what to do. It's very authoritarian. It's very authoritarian. All these groups that we're talking about, and when it comes,
I
and when
agree,
it comes,
but let me say the difference in the and I'm not speaking of the Nuwabian scenario. Now, I'm very familiar with that, but in relationship to the scenarios that are happening in the South right now, these are being started by individuals and that are making individual choices. This is not just these are members of the nation that are doing this independently of a nation authority setting this scenario up and funding this. This is individuals who have the finances and says, okay, we're going to buy this plot of land over here. We're going to build our home in this community, and we're going to create this infrastructure of a community. So that's what's taking place.
I feel like Harriet Tubman. I could have freed more. Why didn't I start a church? I would be rich by now. I'd be fucking, if I just started a church, I'd be fucking get a bunch of black people who are compromised and who are impressionable and who don't know their left from their right unless somebody in a suit is telling them what to do. We saw it with Kevin Samuels. He was starting a cult. Motherfucker had a suit on, was preaching to folks. He started a fucking cult. Motherfuckers are still in my comments crying about Kevin Samuels. It's very easy. Black people are very easy to move to and fro. That's why I was like, reparations is never going to happen. Too weak. Too many black people on top capitalizing off of minions. Too many. It's not going to happen. Sounds good. It keeps the money coming in. It's not going to happen. Don Levon says not the lack of knowledge. Knowledge is everywhere. It's the lack of the desire to seek it. Yeah, I mean, we're in the information age. It's 2022 going into 2023. If a motherfucker wants to get off crack, if a motherfucker wants to open up a business, a motherfucker wants to be an entrepreneur, if a motherfucker wants to stop being a slut, if a motherfucker wants to stop doing drugs, if a motherfucker wants to stop being a stripper or a prostitute, they can. It's free. They can do it. They can do it. That's why I said they don't want to be saved, but people keep recruiting them because it means money for the higher ups. Religion is a fucking scam. I don't give a fuck who you pray to. It's a fucking scam. It's a necessary scam because people would be lost without it. But it's a scam nonetheless. It doesn't stop it from being a scam. You still need churches because, as you can hear, brother is saying, right? They don't, because of slavery, all the black people are lost. They don't know what. So it's a necessary scam, but it's a scam nonetheless. There aren't going to be any reparations. It's not going to be guerrilla warfare in the White House. It's not happening. It's not happening.
And this is Jen. This is basically when we have our discussions. This is one of the reasons why I tell you that social media isn't evil. I was just about to say that. Yeah, she needed Snickers. Let's wrap this up. Seriously, let's wrap this shit up.
I'm about to start cursing out the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. You're right.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, like I keep telling you, it's not about social media being evil. It's the fact that it was successful. And if anything that is successful in our hands, there's going to be corruption. Here comes massive corruption. If it wasn't that successful, then guess what? It would have been just a little niche thing that a couple of people knew about. You'll probably find a whole bunch of useful information on it. You probably would have found some real informative shit happening. People really doing some really cool things, and that'll be about it. It'll be this little niche thing. Once it explodes, then it's weaponized. Then it's turned into this ugly thing. Then it's used against people. And that is exactly what happens. Every time that we have something of merit or of use, and we say, we use that shit and we weaponize it, man. And we turn it on each other.
Yes. That's what I'm talking. See, it's true because look how advanced we are, right? We got Twitter, we got YouTube, and look at what that demographic of black people we talking about turned it into. Black Twitter, cancel other black artists, right? They tear down other black people. Black YouTube, right? Mostly black men tearing down black women. So it's funny to me when people say, no, we don't have the knowledge of self. We don't have we're beyond the knowledge of self, and we've weaponized it against each other. Who's in my comment section calling me everything but a child of God? Black men. That is what Black men do with technology and power. And you want to give these motherfuckers reparations and land?
Just
the
give me the
community
money.
will implode. The community will. You want to put power and money? White people will never do it. Let me tell you something. If I was white, I would never do it. I would never do it unless I was trying to get rid of y'all. Because, you know, then I'll be like, they'll destroy themselves. Give them some more money.
I'm letting the community know now.
They're going to give it back. You give the average Black man in that demographic some land, he's going to sell it and get himself a fucking Maybach. You know what I know.
Listen, I'm letting the Black community
we're
know.
talking about land and institutions for a community, not for individuals like that. I don't believe that is in any of the reparations plans. People are seeing the things the same way that you are seeing it. People are very clear on the circumstances and conditions and what conditions we are. And they are actually very strong thinkers that are out there that are working on this, that have really put together a plan of action that makes sense. So if and when that scenario comes into play, there's a plan of action in place. That's all I'm saying. So not everybody's stupid.
The strong thinkers, the last thing on their mind is fucking Muhammad or Jesus Christ. The strong thinkers are entrepreneurs. The strong thinkers are opening up restaurants and clubs and, you know what I mean, stores. The strong thinkers aren't sitting around waiting for reparations. The strong thinkers are not sitting around waiting for Jesus. Do not compare your cult or your religion or your group that all hang out and all wear the same shit to the fucking strong thinkers. The strong thinkers do not follow. Okay, the strong thinkers do not follow. They're not going to follow Jesus. They're not going to follow Farrakhan. They're going to go on their own and do their own shit. And they're doing it every fucking day. They're Black and brown millionaires and billionaires every fucking day because they're strong thinkers. A follower is not a fucking strong thinker. A follower
okay,
is
so
not
then if that's the case, if that's the case, all of these individuals that you find circling right back to Minister Farrakhan, let's just use him as an example for guidance and direction.
Kevin Samuels was a strong thinker. They're strong thinkers, absolutely. Not for 1 second would I say otherwise. Farrakhan, very strong thinker. That's why he's leading the Minions. Kevin Samuels, very strong thinker. That's why he led the Minions on YouTube. Very strong thinkers. That's what strong thinkers do.
What I'm saying is strong thinkers.
They're easily led. They lead the easily led.
There are other strong thinkers who
that's why the money was coming in hand over fist for them. That's why the money was coming in hand over fist for them.
To what Minister Farrakhan is teaching have also come under his guidance and his leadership.
Well,
and there's many strong
thinkers. He got to peddle something. Kevin Samuels was also peddling salvation for the Black rejects. Like, you got to peddle something. You have to promise something. You listen to me, this is what will happen eventually. That's religion. You're not just going to have people congregate for you for no reason. You have to put in their mind, you're offering something. We can all lead churches. All of us here, we're all strong thinkers. We could all lead a church. All we have to do is promise people something. This is going to happen if you do it my way. Motherfuckers committed mass suicides because someone was promising them something, right? Humans are cattle. They're cattle. So you're not saying anything by saying that. Motherfuckers, mass suicides because this is what's going to happen after you kill yourself. This is what's going to happen if you join us. This is what's going to happen for you. Your life is going to get better. Of course, you got to promise something. But the strong thinkers.
I didn't think you understood what I was saying.
Maybe you don't understand what I'm saying. The strong thinkers are at the top. And anyone who dares in any religion, whether it's Catholic, Christian, NOI, it doesn't matter. I'm not picking on the NOI. Any religion, let a motherfucker buck up and try to be a strong thinker within that organization. What the head is going to do is turn the minions on that motherfucker. And the minions are going to follow. Oh my God, he was trying to sit in your seat. How dare he? And that happens across the board with all religions and all cults. They will kill you for their leader. No different than the idiots that are in my comment section about Kevin Samuels. They will kill you for that man that gave them hope. But they're not
hope in what?
They're the strong followers.
What did he give them hope in?
Start me a church. Tristan, I'm going to start me a church. I need to get rich. And these motherfuckers are dumb. They're going to do
hope and hope.
I keep telling
Open
you,
hope.
one,
I'm
you're
gonna
not gonna do it because you have morals. You're such a punk ass.
I,
I
I
keep
I
telling
have
you,
all these morals and being an atheist. I didn't need
you
no
s-
Jesus,
you
no
like
Muhammad,
like
nothing. All
like
these morals that I got, I'm oozing morals. But I'm gonna
like
start tomorrow, and I'm gonna say you're gonna get 77 of me if you follow me after you die. You'll get
see
77 of me, okay, in your next life if you follow me. I gotta promise something. I gotta promise them
see.
something.
Yeah, that pisses me off. I be trying to get you to scam people, but you refuse to do it. Listen, I don't give a shit about these people. Listen,
Because
I'm tired of waking up and having to go to work.
I'm gonna start me
Right.
a church. I'm gonna start me a church.
Tell them, Tristan. So I'm trying to get flued out.
Exactly,
Right?
you
Let
know what I'm
me. I'm
saying?
trying to get flued out, man.
I'm saying,
I've been
listen,
out
man,
here doing shit for free.
Stop. All of
man,
y'all.
listen. I'm pushing these turkey wings. Know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna have y'all on the corner selling my Goya recipes.
With the
Go ahead.
sazon.
All I'm gonna say
Uh,
is Jin's morals look really good.
his, no
That's a
Saint's
very
wife is
respectable way of saying that, sir. That was
no
actually
no
ingenious. It's a
no
very
no
ingenious way of saying that.
Thanks.
no.
Very ingenious.
I don't listen.
Of
Listen.
course, you have just been stamped approved by the white man.
Oh shit. COINTELPRO approves. COINTELPRO approves.
COINTELPRO approved, exactly.
Oh my! You leave no saying alone. He good white folk.
Oh my god.
Don't you start no trouble here, brother Ish. Every time
Man,
you come here, you
What,
start some
what's that?
trouble.
What's that? We saw Snowfall. We know who you are. We saw Snowfall.
My goodness.
That was funny.
listen, I just need Jen to show up on the next live in some purple shirt saying she's a Hebrew Israelite so my year can be set. I will die of laughter if
Listen,
that's what happens. If she just starts coming out saying Ashalak bak oh yo, I swear to God. I'm tired. Yeah.
alhamdulillah. We're all tired. Let's wrap this up, guys. Love y'all. What up, Trevor Jackson? You hella late. Oh my God. I mean, it's not that late for me here on the best coast, but
Yeah.
on the
I'm just saying I'm just saying, right? Jen has 3 black men and a white man on the East Coast past 12 a.m. while she's wide awake comfortably 3 hours
oh, I'm about to go get
behind
me a
us.
bison burger. Okay, I'm gonna throw my little bison burger on the burner. It's only 9 o'clock over here.
You know, you see how there's a restaurants open compared to us. I'm not saying you're a
No,
slave driver,
I have to
but
make it. I'm making it. I'm not going out.
where the hell you get bison from?
The supermarket.
Oh, that's right,
White people
Jen.
stores.
Exactly.
She's in
Exactly.
Nevada. She's in Nevada. That's
What you got? Whole
Mayberry
Foods?
of the
What you got?
West
Whole
Coast.
check?
Whole Foods sells it. Yep.
Hey, Trevor
Well, we
Jackson,
call it whole check in the black community. So,
Trader Joe's.
Trader Joe's, Starbucks. Go ahead, Trevor Jackson, make your coins. Brother Ish is on the left coast too. He's on the west coast. He ain't up late.
See, you know what I'm saying? She's just a slave driver. I'm
Yeah.
sticking my slave driver point. Listen, I gotta turn you to some type of racist for these views, okay?
What time What time y'all want to come back tomorrow? No, you didn't. What time y'all want to come back tomorrow?
Uh,
We're doing like Joe Rogan hours right now. Fucking almost 4 hours in this bitch. I'm out.
you need to like have like a smoothie when you're on the live, cause I felt bad for Brother Ish for a second. I'm like, why are you whooping this man's ass like this? Like, what did
Yeah,
he do?
Brother Ish he don't care. How many years you know me now? He don't give a damn.
I mean, that was the full lesson of stoicism if I ever seen one. I'm like, listen, I would just say, you know what? I'll just put my
I mean,
headset and walk
I'm
away.
here to present. I'm here to present a certain degree of thinking. Me and Jen have battled these conversations for years, and she has gone to two. I represent two lectures to see Minister Farrakhan. So
want to see
I
Khalid
know,
Muhammad
and want to see Khalid Muhammad. And
before
so
y'all got rid of
it
him.
is.
I digress.
We agree. We agree. Yeah, through aneurysm, right? We
Sure.
agree. We agree to disagree, but we also we understand that there's a common denominator, and that dynamic is where we agree, and that's where we meet.
No, I listen. I'm all for it. Get them Negroes off the street and in a suit. 100%. 100%. Absolutely.
See,
We
this is
don't
gonna be
want him.
hilarious. She's gonna be on CNN in front of Don Lemon, right?
My
Talking
gay
about her
crush. You know he's my
talk,
gay crush.
talking about her movie, and Don Lemon's gonna say, "You know what, Miss Jen Garcia? I have this clip right here, and it's gonna say, get these Negroes off the street.' And he's gonna look at Jen and be like, "Can you respond to that?" She'd be like this.
Absolutely, Don. Let me tell you what happened.
You know what? I'll tell y'all a funny story what happened to me. And this is how money can really influence you without even, as a black person, without you even knowing it. There was a time when I started making a decent amount of money, and I was still living in the neighborhood, and there were plans of me leaving. And one night, when I was just like really tired, I was on my way, home or whatever, and I saw some brothers at the front, in front of the building. And I said to myself, real quick, this voice jumped in my head, and it said, and the voice said, "What are these niggers doing in front of my house? Don't they have jobs?" And I said, "Oh shit!"
You know,
That,
that is
that
right.
quick moment in time, I sounded like a middle-aged white man. I was like, "Damn, money is a motherfucker!" Like, yo, like that shit is a motherfucker. Because in my mind, in that moment in time, I was conceding to the idea, like, wait a minute, I'm making entirely too much money for these motherfuckers to be standing in front of my home like this. Don't they have somewhere to go? And then you realize to yourself, like, wow, just how quickly money, when it changes your circumstances, just how quickly you can be just like the people that you claim to dislike. So do
BK
you hate the
Brown said,
people? Do you hate those people, or do you just hate your circumstance? A lot of times.
your circumstance. BK Brown says, I'm rich. I know there's a God. I'm retired, self-made millionaire. God is real. So God is making millionaires, but he can't stop sex trafficking. He couldn't stop slavery. He couldn't stop sex trafficking. But
He made you a millionaire.
he made you a millionaire. Damn, BK Brown. You must be blessed and favored in this bitch.
No, I'm gonna challenge that. Cash at me $700 right now.
He's blessed and favored in this. Okay, BK. I see God looking out for you. Fuck the people starving. He's looking out for you.
If you're a millionaire, give me $700 right now. Prove it.
Damn, millionaire up at 10 o'clock at night in my chat talking about the Lord and Savior Jesus
Oh
Christ.
my! Oh, she's tired. Oh, she's attacking the chatters. Now she's attacking the chatters. Okay, it's time to
Let's
go.
wrap it up. Let's
God
wrap it
give
up.
people free will.
You need that 100,000 super chat. That's what you need. You need a 100 grand super chat from the millionaire.
Exactly.
Beat off for
So
free.
if she get 100 grand super chat, we won't see her for at least 6 or 7 months. Fuck around.
7, 8 months.
7, 8 months, give or take, right?
I got
hey, the people watching in the bushes, at least now you have your number, the price you need to hit
The price,
to have
the
her
price.
off to YouTube.
All right, so I'm gonna leave on Don Levon's note. He says these degenerates are called degenerates for a reason. You can't change a person's character no matter how strong of a leader you are. That's a fact, Jack. I see you guys tomorrow. I don't know what this mess was towards the end. Tristan, dismiss the class.
Okay.
Wait a minute. Tristan, hold on. Pause. Don Levon said, BK Brown, send the super chat millionaire. Put your money where your mouth is. All the motherfuckers who play rich in my chat never fucking super chat. They never fucking super chat. Now watch me block you if your next comment is not a super chat. Play with me if you want. You're going to be watching me without being able to comment. I don't give a fuck. Everybody's expendable in that fucking chat. Fuck you. Fuck y'all. I'm tired.
Yes, you are.
Okay.
How you tired and loud? Like that's like
I'm
amazing.
Puerto
Like
Rican, Tristan. It's like it's forever. It's like it
The
doesn't.
New
I don't know how
York
to turn
thing.
it off.
They fight sleep like children.
he
You
said,
know
"What's a
that's the
super?"
stupid mother.
Yeah, I'm tired. I'm
Cash
tired.
App. You know what a cash? You're a millionaire, but you don't know what a super chat is. Do you know what Cash App is? Do you know what Venmo is? Do you know what Zelle is? You know what a fucking Bitcoin is, but you don't know Venmo, Zelle, or Cash App or PayPal. On you, mentiroso, Tristan.
Okay, I believe in actual strategy to save the black community. So I have a quote that my father found some that he gives me almost every other day. Give a man a gun and he can rob a bank. Give a man a bank and he can rob the world. We win this game with economics. We don't win it with force, military, militant. That's not how it's gonna work. This is a litigious world, which means lawsuits and paperwork and money will be involved to win this war. That's it. That is my thing. I love you all. Class is dismissed. By the greatest white man of all time, Mr. Feeney.
All right, guys, I'm out of here. I see y'all mañana. Yes, I'm tired. I'm hungry. Sorry if you got cursed out in this streamer session. You know how I get after that 2-hour mark. Brother Ish, pick up your phone because I'm about to call you right now. Matter of fact, let me start calling you right now. Let me see if you're gonna pick up. I'm gonna test it right now. I'm gonna see. If you decline a call, I beat your ass. Okay, there you go. All right, let me shut down. Let me shut down. All right, guys. Good night. Love you all. If you're still here, hit that like and subscribe on your way out. Mama loves you. Thank you for putting up with me. Don Levon, we're going to get B. Craig Brown next time. We're going to get him to prove he's a millionaire up in this bitch. Oh, I look cute still after all that time. All right, guys. Good night. Love y'all. Good night. See you tomorrow.